Mm-hmm.
Hey, Joshua here from 86 Boxing, along with Slaven from Boxing Haven. We're back for part two, where we go over the 2000 through 2010 decade. Essentially 2009. So we're going to pick up basically where we left off. Hopefully, all has been well, Slaven, and hopefully you're ready to jump into this.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I got a little coughing, but it's not so serious. A
All
little
right,
cough.
feel free to take a sip of water or whatever you need in the
Yeah,
midst of this. And for everyone listening, hopefully we don't keep you too long. We're going to try and get through as much as we can while also being amenable to your time, of course. But when those boxing discussions go on, they can take on a life of their own.
yeah,
All right. So 2005, a great year. The first big fight of that year, at least by our tracking, was Zab Judah taking on Corey Spinks in St. Louis. And this was for the undisputed welterweight championship. Spinks had picked it up by virtue of, am I thinking right? Yeah. Spinks had picked it up by beating maybe Mayorga. Was that the case,
yeah.
or am I
I think
off?
so. Yeah, I think Mayorga because he held
Okay.
the WBC and the WBA, I guess, titles.
Yeah, because Mayorga had knocked off Vernon Forrest, who had knocked off Shane Mosley.
Yeah,
You know
that's
how
right.
that how that
And
cycle goes.
I think Spinks had won the IBF belt before that. So yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah, that was the case. I'm trying to remember this fight. I know that Zab Judah was on his game. Spinks is a good boxer. Of course, he comes from a boxing family and all of that. But that
Mm,
being said, he he was I think it was an achievement for him as far as actually becoming an undisputed welterweight champion or a champion in general by comparison because of course his I guess it would have been uncles or something of that nature
yeah.
were very good,
Yeah, that's
thinking
right.
about it.
Michael, that's his uncle, and Leon, who recently passed, was his father. So yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah. Michael the uncle, yeah. Michael
Hmm.
the Jinx Spinks, yeah, is
Yeah,
a great champion as well.
yeah,
And
great
Leon as
fighter.
well.
Yeah,
RIP to Leon, yeah, you did make a good point. Since we last had a discussion, and interestingly, we're starting out with his Spinks. He did pass away, so uh, send our salutes to their family. But yeah, he was a great fighter. Was able to beat Muhammad Ali, and we all know that that was a big deal. Even though that version of Muhammad Ali probably wasn't his at his
yeah,
best, but it was still an amazing achievement, and he's respected in the boxing world. I know that.
yeah. Definitely, I think he's had a few other quite good wins, but of course his career never really took off the
Yeah,
way it was supposed or expected to. So. It was
yeah.
Michael that turned out to be the great brother in that family. So
Indeed. So yeah. In regards to that Judah Spinks fight, I'm trying to recall it much. I just remember Judah was this was Judah after he had, or maybe this was when he won the belts. This was prior to the fight with Floyd Mayweather, right? So
yeah,
he would go on to lose to Carlos Baldomir, which
mm,
I think we'll get to. So Judah would look like he was good. He's bounced back from that whole situation with Costa Zoo. Looked like welterweight was going to be his weight, and he would put everything together at this particular point. So we'll see what history entails as we move further along in the decade.
yeah, yeah. That was and I think that fight was actually in St. Louis, where the Spinks are from.
Yes.
So it was a major I mean, a devastating loss for Corey. So
Yeah.
and I,
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember it was a big event, especially big for St. Louis at that particular time. I didn't watch it live. It was I can't remember if it was on Showtime or what. But I
yeah.
remember I didn't watch it live. But I remember it's a big, and I got that notice in the aftermath of the fight that Judah had knocked him out.
Yeah, and I think also before they had one fight which Spinks won. It was pretty good. I know both guys were down once in that fight. and
Okay.
I think I've seen it before, but now there's a while while ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Same here. Kind of
so it
slips
was
my
a kind
mind.
of a revenge for Judah, of course. Very sweet one.
Oh yes, without a doubt, to get those titles along with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, good move on his part. All
Mm,
right, so then from there we move on to March 19th. It's definitely worth mentioning because it was the great Eric El Terrible Morales taking on Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, and this was Pacquiao during the time where he was starting to really make waves, and this was an excellent fight. I watched it not too long ago, and it was just an action fight. Two very offensive fighters,
mm,
and Morales he actually showed that his boxing skills were a little bit better than Manny Pacquiao's in that particular fight. But this isn't to say that Manny Pacquiao wouldn't come on and figure him out in later fights. I would say, but this was really a good clash. And Morales, he was still very serviceable as far as his game. This isn't the blown up 140-pound Morales that we saw in later years. This was Morales when he was still very much a viable option. And Manny Pacquiao, as mentioned, he was coming up, and he was really taking. And at that particular fight, I believe that was featherweight. He was taking the world by storm,
yeah.
or it's featherweight, or it was either featherweight or 130.
Or maybe
Um,
super featherweight. I don't know, maybe super.
Okay, maybe super featherweight,
Yeah.
but I know he was starting to take the world by storm at that particular time just because of his offensive style, and he didn't disappoint in any fight. What are your thoughts on that particular matchup, that first one?
I'm a big fan of Morales. So when I first watched it, and I was very happy, of course. I didn't know that he had actually beaten many, and he had been the last for quite a long time, to
Yeah.
beat him. So it was, I guess that was his, maybe. I mean, you could see final great performance, even though
Oh yeah.
he later on had a few, when he came back, few good
Yeah.
victories, but that was really, him at his final peak, because
Hmm.
right after that, or not long after that, he lost to Zahir Rahim, I believe. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when he and Pacquiao fought again, I mean, it's not like I'm not trying to take anything away from Manny Pacquiao, but it was not the same Eric Morales. I think, you know, any longer that Manny fought that night on the 19th of March. So
I could see that. Yeah. Yeah. It looked like the fight had, or the flame just started to flicker a little bit as
yeah,
far as fighting is concerned with Eric Morales at that particular point.
yeah, and he had so many wars, with Barrera and Manny himself, some other guys, some brutal wars. Jesus Chavez also, for instance.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he had just become spent, I think, and yeah. So he definitely did need a third fight against Pacquiao. That was a great mistake. So
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah, and I think,
yeah, this
yeah,
fight
I
was
agree
a
with you.
really great performance simply by him. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, I'm thinking that time off probably did him some good, and he was able to kind of rekindle the flame and get that
yeah.
spark back in his second time around, just to finish off where he essentially left off in a sense, you know.
Mm. Yeah, because he was coming off a loss actually from of against Barrera in their last fight, which was
Oh yeah.
also a real classic, of course.
Hmm.
um, yeah, so that's that story.
Oh yes, without a doubt. Wars. And speaking of wars, the next fight we must discuss is one of the greatest fights that the world has been witness to. Took
Oh
place
yeah,
on May 7th in 2005. It was the late great Diego Corrales taking on Jose Luis Castillo. And there was a WBO and WBC lightweight title on the line. They were unifying. And this was, as mentioned, a fight that goes down in memory. And when we think about the great fights over the last 20 to 30 years, then this is one that, yeah, some it tops the list for some, definitely, along with the Gotti Ward fight, the
Yeah,
first one at least. But this is one that was action packed throughout, and we saw two guys who
yeah,
were willing to give it their all.
yeah. And we also got a knockout in the end, so that I think this one
Yes.
wins. Yeah. No, I've seen the fight several times. I really love always seeing it again, and simply amazing. I mean, of course, it looked like it was going towards a victory for Castillo, right? So
No,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
on the way of stopping Corrales. That's the most amazing thing. And then just like that, Corrales, it was like from a movie, Joe Goosen comes, to give him his mouthpiece and he says, "You better get inside of him now." And then he
Oh,
just turns it all around with one punch. So it was amazing.
yeah, that fight was full of the drama that you expect and seek in a fight of that caliber. But yeah, you're right. You got to see Corrales buy himself some time by intentionally spitting out his mouthpiece because he
Yeah.
knew he needed those last ditch seconds just to muster up something. But he saw that once he had the opening and he hurt Castillo there at the tail end, he
Mm.
was not going to stop and he just went in for the kill, so to say. And that is exactly how you finish a fight at the top level.
Yeah, that was just amazing. I mean, and when the fight was over, I mean, that's this crowd, everyone erupted, so you couldn't hear much. It was so loud that you just, you know, uh, I don't
Yeah.
know how you call it, but it was amazing. Yeah, everybody went
Uh,
berserk.
Oh yes, without a doubt. And that fight ended up winning the fight of the year for 2005, rightfully so. And as mentioned, it is just one of the greatest fights for those who may be listening who haven't seen it. Diego Corrales versus Jose Castillo won the first fight. This is one that if you're not even a boxing fan, you could potentially become one by
Mm,
watching a fight like this.
yeah, just unbelievable action all the way. Just yeah.
Indeed. And now, moving on, it's like 2005. I'm just seeing now. It's just like a heck of a year for boxing. It's like we have to talk about every major fight. But May 14th was a week later from what the Diego Corrales, Jose Castillo. We got Winky Wright taking on Felix Trinidad. And this was after Winky Wright had defeated Shane Mosley twice,
Mm,
actually, to pick up. And in that, he had the I can't remember which title he had. It may have been IBF.
yeah,
Uh,
maybe IBF.
may have been IBF.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Felix Trinidad, he was coming off a layoff, semi-retirement layoff, or whatever you want to call it. But he was moving up to 160, and the expectation at that particular time was that Trinidad would end up facing Shane Mosley, but Winky Wright thwarted those plans when he actually fought Mosley, and he ended up taking on Felix Trinidad in what seemed to be on paper a heck of a fight as far as a stylistic clash, but
Mm.
um, I'm sure you know what happened, Slaven. What were your
Yeah,
thoughts on it?
yeah, it was not much of a fight, of course, and just Winky just neutralized Felix Trinidad's offense, and yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I watched it, but I know that it was just simply a total schooling by Winky, right? And Trinidad was just, I mean, he was lost, lost totally.
Yeah, in light of us actually, going through this process for this tail end, I went back and watched a couple of things. I knew Winky Wright was going to be a heavy hitter over this decade, and I ended up going back to watch that fight, and yeah, it was just straight schooling for the most part. I didn't. give Trinidad a round, and
Yeah,
he
you
was just
can.
utterly confused. Yeah, yeah, he was utterly confused. I don't recall him landing any shot of significance on Winky Wright, and Winky Wright at times looked like he was about to potentially stop him. Just think if Winky Wright had even more had more power, then he
Yeah,
certainly would have, just by virtue of what he was doing. But
yeah, he
Trinidad had no answer for the jab at all.
yeah, definitely. I mean, Winky was never a really hard hitter, of course. So if he had more power, he would have stopped him. Yeah, or it would have been at least a corner retirement. So
Indeed, indeed, and this, as they were mentioning during the broadcast, this looked in some fashion outside of the stoppage piece, like when Trinidad had faced Bernard Hopkins back in 2001, which we covered in the last part of the decade episode that we watched. But
yeah,
it was a similar fashion, just a guy who was the bigger guy and the greater boxer, in Trinidad's power not having an effect on either of those two fighters. There really
mm,
wasn't much that he could do.
yeah, definitely. I mean, he was schooled American style, you can say. So
Oh
that's
yes,
he went to the American school of boxing. That those nice, and he failed. Of course, he flunked.
it failed. It
Yeah.
definitely did. So there. Yeah, all right. So yeah, then moving on, June 4th, 2005, we ended up having Ricky Hatton, the great Ricky Hitman Hatton. He was the ring champion, and oh no, he wasn't the ring champion actually. It was
Costas. Yeah.
Costa who he was facing, who was the ring champion. So he was picking this up. For in the IBF lightweight title was on, light welterweight title was on the line, and I watched that fight not too long ago as well. Probably it might have been the tail end of last year, somewhere around there. And yeah, this was a rough and tumble performance for Ricky Hatton. He really was at his best as far as hit the game that worked for him, where he was able to basically outwork and outmuscle a strong Costa on the inside, and he basically overwhelmed Zoo just with his offensive prowess. And Zoo ended up retiring in his corner. I do recall that because he, at that point, just knew that, of course, if the fight would have gone on, he was going to lose on the cards regardless. But he was just taking a bunch of punishment, and he really and hadn't never gave him an opportunity to break or even let up on him to the tune of him being able to get any form of a breather to be able to get off his offense in an appropriate manner. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was. I agree. I mean, it was. I mean, Sue had some, of course, good rounds, but in large, he was out muscle and out fought, and Hatton just simply he used. He had the right strategy, and because he had a considerable advantage in age, at
Oh
least.
yeah, yeah,
So, and he had very fast feet and all that. So, uh, not a huge puncher, but he was a good body puncher anyway. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Tsu was not no longer in his prime there because
yeah.
the year before he had some surgery. I don't recall. It was a shoulder, maybe surgery
Mm.
or something. So he was, of course, 36 almost, and yeah, but it was a great performance by Ricky Hatton, of course. So yeah,
Yeah, and if I recall correct, that was Costazu's last fight, right?
yeah,
So
that
yeah,
was
that was essentially yeah the last. It turned out to be a good fight from an entertainment perspective.
yeah. It's just that what annoys me when the British fans go, "Oh, Costa 2 was destroyed by Ricky Hatton. He got completely outclassed." That's not the way it went. It
No,
was
no,
still
no.
a pretty competitive fight, right? I
Oh
mean,
yes, yes, it definitely was.
so it was just that Kostya was the one who got more punishment and simply was not. He elected to not continue. Well, whether that made him look bad, I don't know. But he still did pretty well. I mean, he's got nothing to
Yeah,
be ashamed of. So you know,
I agree. I agree. It shouldn't take away from anything. That fact, I think it was just a matter of timing.
yeah,
Ricky Hatton just so happened to be on the rise, and it was the
yeah.
right time for him to come in and take that fight.
So Ricky was on his way in, and Costa was on his way out. Simply to
Yeah.
put it that way. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we'll move on. I'll just mention that on June 18th, Antonio Tarver, he did defeat Glenn Johnson in a rematch that they had, a light heavyweight matchup. That is,
Yeah, I still haven't seen that one.
yeah, I don't recall the full details of it. I just know that it was a decision. And, if
I
you used
thought
to seeing Tarver and Johnson, it was one of
I
those
thought
things.
Taro actually won the first one as well. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, it's not
We
just
know.
because I'm a Taro fan, but I just
Yeah.
thought it just kind of just snatched that fight. But the judges didn't see it that way, of course.
Yeah, we know how the judging can be at times.
Yeah, Taro, had some. He had a mouth, so he wasn't so, I guess, beloved as Glenn Johnson, perhaps, by
Yeah.
some of the judges. He was a little bit brash and cocky and all that. So,
Oh yeah.
still a very
The
good fighter, of course. Both were, but I think Tarver was just slightly, at least slightly better than Glenn Johnson. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. And Tarver got that late start, and he really didn't take a lot of punishment. So he was able, and Glenn Johnson, he was able to last a pretty long period of time as well. But I think that Tarver was at a higher level more
yeah.
at the time that Glenn Johnson was kind of fading out a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, Johnson was like a workman, you could say.
Yeah,
Strong guy, really, worked hard, but not like I mean, didn't have the same talent as
yeah.
Tarver or Jones, of course. So,
Yeah, if you go look at his record, you'll understand why he got the name Road Warrior.
yeah, that's right.
All right, so then from there, yeah, Hatton fans saying that he destroyed Costa Zoo are definitely mistaken because we did see a destruction on June 25th, 2005, when Floyd Mayweather Jr. took on Arturo Gatti
Oh yeah.
to pick up the WBC light welterweight title. Um, and the fight in itself, I think the expectation was that Floyd was going to win, and he just did it in a complete dismantling of a Turtle guy who was never the guy who was going to wow you technically, but he was going to be in there and he's going to be scrappy. But Floyd Mayweather Jr. in this case didn't give him an opportunity to do much of anything in that fight.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was just very one-sided fight, and I don't got it was simply just. I think Floyd's style was simply all wrong for him, and
Yeah, that's a bad matchup for him.
yeah, because it's not like he was past. Well, he was like 33, I think. So he
Yeah,
wasn't that, at least far, far past his prime, because earlier that year he knocked out Jesse James Leha, I believe, in
oh
five
yeah,
rounds.
Jesse
So
James.
yeah, so that was of course, when you have someone like Floyd Mayweather, he always win against the guy against Gotti. I think even a prime Gotti, maybe if they fought at 130, I don't know, maybe that then maybe it would have been a little closer. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe somewhat competitive.
Yeah,
But yeah, this fight, I think it was stopped in the seventh or after the
yeah,
seventh. But
after
I
the
know that
six.
it,
Yeah,
or okay, yeah. So it theoretically could have been stopped sooner. But yeah, it's just one of those fights
yeah,
that will be on the records for both. Um,
yeah.
So then we moved to July of that same year, 2005. A guy that I was a fan of. He was from my home state of Arkansas. So we had
Oh, yeah.
Bernard Hopkins coming in as the well, yeah, he was the undisputed middleweight champion at that particular time. He was
Yeah.
taking on Jermaine Bad Intentions Taylor. And this was the first fight between the two. And
Mm.
we know that it ended up being a split decision win for Jermaine Taylor that, of course, can be disputed because there are those who think that Hopkins won as well. But it was one of those fights where you had this younger, big athletic boxer, strong and athletic against Hopkins, who was size wise probably around the same,
Yeah.
but he was more of a crafty fighter. He wasn't going to wow you with athleticism. He was a better boxer fundamentally and all of that stuff, and he knew all the tricks of the trade.
Mm.
But in this matchup, it had some very wild moments in terms of their exchanges, but I guess the judges, or at least two of them, saw Jermaine Taylor as the winner based on him at least throwing a lot of heavy shots and connecting in some manners, even though that there were at times there was a lot of wild missing and tangling that was taking place in the fight. So I think that was the story of the fight in the whole. But I think it was entertaining just thinking about it,
Yeah.
and it was definitely a shocker when the cards were eventually read. Mhm.
Yeah, I don't see how it was a split decision. I mean, I think Jermaine Taylor won like first 9 or 10 rounds, definitely. I just couldn't see anyone saying anything else. I mean, anyone saying that those rounds were even close. So if I remember correctly, Hopkins he came on strong in the 10th or 11th. He did hurt Taylor, I know, in one of those
Yeah,
rounds. But that's all. I mean, he won maybe like 3 rounds or I I that's my opinion, of course. I just couldn't see him. I just couldn't give him more than 3 round stops, because Taylor was simply outboxing him, beating him to the punch,
that
all the time. Those first 9 rounds. So yeah,
yeah. If I recall correctly, I guess the feeling was that a lot of Taylor's shots weren't connecting. Um, but back to different. I felt that Taylor won as well. I don't
yeah.
know if
I
that's
mean,
just. I haven't seen the fight in a while, but either of the fights. But I had to go back and look again just to see what my thought is now because I want to make sure that there was no bias of me seeing
yeah,
another
of
Arkansan there going getting
course,
his
yeah.
shot at that particular time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, there, I thought that Taylor won without a doubt because even if not all his punches connected, he still threw more than Hopkins. Hopkins simply didn't do enough in those first 9 rounds or something. Yeah. So
and we can say that that has been the case with Hopkins in other fights as well,
yeah,
where he lost. He didn't really do a ton.
mm, yeah. Sometimes he could be, I guess, lazy or yeah,
Yeah. All right, and then we move on to October of 2005. Antonio Tarver he had a rematch and won a unanimous decision with Roy Jones, and I think that this
yeah,
fight,
good
more than
fight.
anything, showed that the Roy Jones of old was not there any longer, and
Yeah,
he theoretically could have called it quits there, and at least wouldn't have a lot of this back end stuff on his legacy. But it was a good performance by Antonio Tarver, and just a sort of average, underwhelming performance by Jones, who looked for sure as though he couldn't really pull the trigger in the manner that he previously could, and he was probably seeing ghosts in a sense, thinking about getting knocked out.
yeah. Yeah, I've seen a fight a couple of times. Pretty good fight. I mean, Jones, I remember he had a few good moments in round 5. I believe there was one when he was first hurt against the ropes, and then he just suddenly he grabs that rope, and then he just goes right at Tarver. That was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, Tarver really won that fight definitely, and he was close to getting Jones out of there in the 11th round. You know,
Yeah,
yeah. So it was a good performance simply by Tarper and Jones. Simply not, having enough left in the tank to, you know,
yeah,
do anything about it. So,
yeah. Which yeah, yeah. And after seeing that, of course, I know we talked about this last time. It's crazy to think that Roy only retired a couple of years ago. You
yeah,
know,
that
it's
should have
crazy.
been his last fight, I guess. Yeah, he was already
Yeah,
almost like 37 or something. Yeah,
yeah. I think yeah, I think he might have been. So what he that? I thought he might have been like 34, 35,
I believe
somewhere
he
in
was
there.
born 69 in January.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a pretty good memory for that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, you're on it then. Hey, you're right. Hey, Roy. Hey, should have called it quits, but hey, can't stop from getting that check, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh, All right. So then we move on to December 3rd. This is the rematch. Jermaine Taylor Bernard Hopkins. It was similar to the previous fight. I would say a little bit less intense in my eyes, maybe just from what I recall. Maybe because of the build up to the first fight and the thought that hey, this is the first time in a while that we think someone can legitimately beat Hopkins. But similar thing, I think this one may have theoretically could be considered closer. I need to watch it again. I don't remember the full details of it, but I thought Jermaine Taylor got the nod or deserves the nod in this fight as well. But yeah, I know that others may feel different. I don't know if you recall that fight. What
Yeah,
do you think?
unfortunately, I just couldn't be bothered to see it. I did want it for a while to watch it, but then simply there were others that I wanted to watch more. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
just not a fan of watching Bernard Hopkins so much. Simply, I must admit. Yeah, but I guess he was definitely it was his last fight at 160, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He moved on from there.
I believe he was simply just not able to keep up with those faster younger guys like Taylor. You know, it
Yeah, yeah,
was much better once he went up to 175. So
yeah. But he had been at 160 for since like 90 when he first
yeah,
started.
uh, 90,
91,
90 or something.
90.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So he had been there for a long period of time. So this
yeah,
probably was a
too
good
long.
move for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because some guys, they usually once they get past like their early 20s or whatever, mid 20s at least, they
Hmm.
are forced to move up. But I know that Bernard, he was always pretty meticulous as far as this dieting and outside of the ring, the stuff that he did, which which helped him last for as long as he did.
Yeah, I don't understand why he stayed so long, but that was his choice. At 160, because he was simply not a true middleweight anymore, and yeah.
Yeah. And then, lastly, for 2005, the last major fight, which was December 17th, is a fight that I'm just gonna say I'm gonna go on a limb and say that you didn't see because I know that I didn't see
No,
Nicole
I
Valuev against John Ruiz, but
too boring.
Valuev picked up the WBA heavyweight title, and
Yeah,
yeah, so that was
well,
that.
the worst heavyweight champion ever. I think it was so boring. The mummy, like it was like
Yeah,
watching a mummy, a giant mummy
without a
fight.
doubt. But yeah, so yeah, we move on to 2006, the first major fight to kick things off, a fight that we had mentioned previously. Carlos Baldomir was able to upset Zab Judah, and this was while Judah was in line for a fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr. in what was a
Yeah,
more highly anticipated fight. But Carlos Baldomir, a wily veteran, just came in and upset the apple cart on Zab Judah, who at this particular time, we start to see. Well, this was, I guess, the start of the trend of Zab Judah would have some good for fights where he would look excellent, and then he would have more lethargic performances
Yeah,
that made you say that, hey, does this guy really have that stuff to really take it to the next level?
yeah. I mean, yeah, and that was also he had that weakness when he would fade in the late rounds, like or in the second
Oh
half
yeah,
already. So that was, I know that Fernando Whitaker. Once I saw him talk about it because he was very close with
oh
Zach.
yeah,
So
oh
he's
yeah. I remember he was in his corner early on.
yeah. So he said, no, you gotta fight like a whole fight, just not just the first 6 rounds, and that's what he does. Sometimes just fights for real the first 6 rounds. So
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, this fight, changed some things. It just altered some things as far as just the fight with Mayweather, and then how that was going to be anticipated with champions coming
mm,
together. And but hey,
yeah,
I'm sure Zab's name will pop up again here before this decade closes out.
yeah, definitely.
All right. Yeah, John Mark McCormick. Yeah, we're not going to mention that one. All right. January 21st, Pacquiao and Eric Morales, they ended up fighting again, and this is where Pacquiao stopped
Yeah.
Morales in the 10th round. Then, as mentioned, that first fight was great. This fight was even greater for Pacquiao, more so because he just was on an offensive arsenal that forced Eric Morales to say no more.
No
Yeah.
mas. Yeah, yeah. As I said, it was. I think first, at least half the fight was pretty, even, pretty competitive. I guess Morales simply started to fade, as the fight
Yeah.
went on, and he was stopped. He was knocked down in the 10th round. And he was stopped, and it was sad to watch, of course, for everyone who was a fan of his. But as I said, after that Rahim fight, I don't think he was no longer. I mean, he was not at his peak anymore. So,
Yeah.
and he did retire not so long after that second or third Pacquiao fight, anyway. So, yeah,
Yeah, I think this was the second one. So
yeah,
yeah, I think I was mixing the two. I think it's the third where you can see he clearly
it
just
was only three
wants
rounds.
no more.
Third one, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and he just knew that he didn't have it. But yeah, but as you mentioned earlier, he'd been in a lot of wars,
yeah.
especially those Barrera fights. I'm sure they took a lot out of him.
Those were brutal fights. Yeah,
Yeah,
there was a
and
lot of hate. Yeah, between.
oh yeah, 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 definitely. Those two did not like each other.
Yeah,
And always wondered, do they like each other now? I
I don't
wonder.
know. I'm not too sure. Was the poor boy and the rich boy. So poor
Yeah,
boy from Tijuana and rich boy from Mexico City. So
that
which was
is funny.
Barrera, of course, the rich boy.
Barrera. But yeah, interesting stuff. February 25th, 2006, Shane Mosley TKO Fernando Vargas. And I believe this was, at least for my matter, probably the last. Well, I know that Vargas went on to fight Mayorga, but I
Yeah,
feel like this was the last, I guess, somewhat serviceable version of Fernando Vargas
yeah,
that we saw as a competitor when he lost to Shane Mosley.
yeah. It was in 10. I know it was stopped in the 10 rounds in the 10 because somebody had got cut or something. But it was very close until then. So I remember I actually when I did score it, so I actually had Vargas ahead by one point,
Okay.
5 rounds to four. So you couldn't score the last round because it was I think over. It was stopped like after 1 minute of the 10th round or something. I don't know.
Okay. I take it this was at 154, right?
Yeah, so it was a very good performance by both guys. So, but that rematch was simply already. I mean, Vargas was not there anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I have to go back and look at it again. I remember the results, seeing the highlights and things of what happened, him being stopped. I don't remember too many details of the fight, so I'm wondering if I saw beyond the highlights mainly. But that's one I'm definitely going to have to go back and check out. But yeah, I do know that. Yeah, that was probably the last good performance we saw from Vargas
yeah.
for his career.
Hmm.
All right, then move on to March 3rd. A guy I love to hate, some would say, Joe Calzaghe defeated Jeff Lacy via unanimous decision, IBF and WBO super middleweight title unification bout,
Yeah,
and that was this was like a very good fight, sort of coming out party for Kazagi to American audiences, I would say, more so than anything, and he just basically overwhelmed and completely outboxed Jeff Lacy, who beyond swinging and praying and hoping for something to land, really just didn't know at all what to do with Joe Calzaghe. And stylistically, it was a bad matchup for him. And
yeah,
I watched it not too long ago. He was bloodied, cut on both eyes, if I'm not mistaken. And really, Jeff Lacy, it was either he was overrated or he was never the same. I'm thinking it was a matter of him being never the same after that fight, and it
yeah,
probably took away a good deal of confidence from him.
yeah. I think so too. I mean, he was simply ruined by Calzaghe, and for that he had some good wins, and but Kazagi was just on another level, and technically, I mean, it was just, and he really needed that performance, because he had a lot of doubters, a lot of critics back then. It was like, who did he beat? Nobody,
Yeah,
at least
I guess I'm one
nobody
of
in
those
their
guys.
prime, So yeah,
Yeah. I had did a post on Facebook saying Calzaghe. I got a lot of backlash. It was
yeah,
in like this uh, British boxing group. I said that proof Calzaghe, because he had did a ring interview saying the best he's ever faced, and he said the best he faced was Miguel Kessler, who was a very good fighter. I loved watching Kessler, but I
yeah.
had did a post saying, "Hey, this is proof Calzaghe is overrated. The best he's ever faced is Mikhail Kessler." People were getting
Yeah,
at me, man.
I think he was just being, realistic because he was
yeah,
prime and
yeah,
Hopkins and
yeah,
Jones were not. So maybe he was trying to be nice. So,
yeah. People didn't take too kindly to my posting that.
yeah. Yeah, I
I
mean,
thought you would come to my defense, Slaven.
yeah. Hello.
Can
Joe
you hear
had
me?
he had a lot of haters. I remember I was in this forum, boxing scene. I think you have heard of it.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I know that.
yeah, just after he had quit, it was in 2009, and everybody was just calling him names like Cal Slappy and, I don't remember those others. It was just so much hate. So I was like, What's going on around here? Why do they hate him? Hate him?
You know, I still have an account over there. I had logged in like last year, the first time in several years, and I think I posted like, well, I commented on like two things, but I haven't been back in. But I remember being on there. There's a lot of craziness goes down there, or at
Yeah,
least it
there
used
was
to.
a lot of, a lot of trolls, a lot of trolling.
Yeah, there's definitely a troll factory.
Yeah.
All right. So then we go March 18th, 2006. James Toney took on Hakeem Rothman for
Oh
the
yeah.
WBC heavyweight title, ended in a draw. Um, is this the one where he's. No, this is not what I'm thinking of. That's a different one. I don't recall this fight really. Did I see that? Do you recall it?
I have seen it, but yeah, I think I don't know if I have ever really seen the whole fight, but I've seen
Yeah,
most.
me either. So did Tony not beat him? For some reason, I had in my mind that Tony beat him,
I
but
think
I guess not.
No, but it was close, I guess. Since I haven't scored, but Tony had definitely some good moments, and yeah, Rahman was kind of slow and simply using his strength, I guess, to to win those rounds
Yeah, yeah,
that he won.
yeah. Naturally bigger guy for sure.
Yeah, the
All
huge
right.
huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess press on then. There from there, April 1st, there's a Sergey Leyakovich.
Mm.
He won the WBO heavyweight title by defeating Layman Brewster. I remember Brewster for sure. I don't really remember Leyakovich. So I'm guessing he didn't have a lengthy defense because I don't remember him.
Yeah, because he was stopped in his first defense by Shannon Briggs because
Okay.
in the 12th round, I think also even so, which was very uncharacteristical for Briggs, But I think Liakovic was ahead, yes, and then he was just stopped in the last round, very unlucky. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
he was
Oh,
a
that
good
sucks to go out.
he was a good technical boxer, but he didn't have much power. I remember Liakovic, and I
Oh
guess
yeah, and that can certainly be a challenge at heavyweight.
yeah.
Well, at least
So that's
that particular
just
time.
yeah. Hmm.
Cool. All right. So then, April 8th, Floyd Mayweather defeated Zab Judah. A fight we had mentioned. We mentioned Zab would pop up again. So this fight, I remember that Floyd was getting flack because he chose to fight Judah as opposed to Valdemir, who
Yeah,
he ultimately ended up fighting. But
but it
this
was a
fight of
better
yeah,
fight.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. It was a better, the more known commodity, of course, was Zab Judah, and the fight in itself, definitely for the first few rounds, Zab Judah was showing that hey, he is on this level. You know, he was
Yeah,
giving Floyd a little bit of trouble,
yeah,
but then eventually, things happened. There was a brawl,
yeah.
and Roger Mayweather ended up hopping in.
A lot of
And from
praise.
that point on, it looked like Zab didn't truly want to be there anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he just went all like tug on Floyd because he was being dominated, and he just
Yeah.
decided to get him the only way he could, the dirty way. So that's simply
Yeah.
what happened. Yeah, but yeah, it was
Oh,
a good fight. I mean, the first four
yeah.
rounds, I think Zab was doing well. And he perhaps even
Yeah.
she scored a knockdown, but it wasn't acknowledged by the judge. I think Floyd touched
Yeah.
with his glove, the canvas, but
Yeah. Replays show that it actually did touch a little bit, so that should count.
in the second round, I believe, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I believe it was that. I believe it was the second, but yeah, it did touch. It barely, but it touched. So
Yeah,
technically, that was a knockdown.
yeah. So it was a great achievement, you might say, but still, Zab just he kind of faded after the sixth round, as he has done before and
Yeah,
after. So
and I recall his technique going completely out of the window, and he was looking like he was just street fighting at that particular point.
yeah, yeah. So it was
So
just
yeah,
another Floyd victory.
yeah, you have another one. They say. All right, then moving on from that, April 22nd, Vladimir Klitschko ended up winning the IBF World Heavyweight title from Chris Byrd with a seventh round stoppage. And I remember he was battering Chris Byrd around the time of that stoppage. I know Byrd wanted to go on, but he would have been hurt, in my opinion, because he just was battered and bruised at that particular point.
Yeah, it was a very one-sided fight. I've seen it once or twice, but not so long ago. It was pretty one-sided, all the way, and especially the last 3 or 4 rounds. So it was just a matter of time, and when then when, of course, Vladimir got him down, then there was no reason to continue.
Yeah. Yeah, and Chris Byrd, he was stylistically, I definitely liked him as a boxer. He's an excellent boxer.
Yeah,
Um, Yeah, but he wasn't really a big heavyweight,
Oh,
so
of course, he was.
especially going against the likes of Vladimir
Yeah,
Klitschko and some of those other guys.
giant
Could
slap.
you imagine him today? Even with him being the better boxer, I just think that the like guys like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, for that
Yeah,
matter, would just be problematic.
yeah, definitely. I mean, and in the end, Bird went down to light heavyweight, so
Yeah.
it, he didn't really. It was just too late, and he wound up retiring. I remember he was even knocked out at light heavyweight by one guy. So that
Oh
was
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he was in the news over this past year at least because he seemed to be legitimately aiming at making a comeback back at now. I think he's 50 years old, but at middleweight, he's
oh
gotten down to the middleweight level. He looks to be in very good shape,
yeah, but still,
but I
doesn't
think he
they
was
all
talking
do?
competitively too.
Yeah, they all do until they stepped in that ring, then afterwards they
Yeah,
don't look in good shape.
yeah. Yeah, maybe if he were to do some exhibitions, a la that Tyson Jones
Yeah,
style exhibition,
why
he could
not?
do some things with that. But he was talking like he actually wanted to make a run at the title, which,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
think anyone wants to see him get hurt.
you had several old fighters coming back for. I mean, Virgil Hill, I know, had one fight in 2015. It was
Oh yeah.
just one easy fight, and then that was all. So that's all
You,
right. Mm.
I recently ran across a video of Pat Militek, who was this a UFC fighter taking on I want to say Michael Nunn,
Oh, yeah.
and it was in a some kind of exhibition style kickboxing
Wow.
match. I just thought it was interesting.
Michael Mann,
It's
yeah. Yeah,
interesting things. But I think he's like 50 plus.
yeah. So now I don't know. It's because I guess all this new
Yeah,
I don't know really the whole new stuff, the whole new medical scene has changed. Because
yeah,
back in the old days, nobody would come back after being away for like 20 years or 15 from the ring.
yeah, without a doubt.
So now
Yeah,
it's really happening quite frequently. So yeah,
yeah, and yeah. Not to go on a tangent, but I also have been seeing, since we're in the same ballpark, updates that Tyson and Holyfield 3 could happen.
oh yeah,
I
that
don't know if they mean as an exhibition or what. But I will say that I don't see Evander Holyfield being the exhibition type for some
no
reason.
no. No, he would just start rolling.
I don't see how he could hold himself back. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so either. It just simply like well, he was a street fighter, I guess. That's also how he started. So, or his
Yeah.
brother anyway. So yeah, but yeah,
So yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see though. We'll see
yeah,
what happens.
he's
Um.
still strong and tough. I believe he still can.
Oh yeah,
It's
you see him
amazing.
working out. He looks good.
Yeah, he's been in such incredible wars, and he still can talk without
Yeah.
slurring his speech or anything.
Yeah.
He's
Which
like,
is the opposite of Riddick Bowe. He slurs when he
yeah,
speaks.
always like,
Unfortunately, and I know he was talking about trying to make a comeback. I don't think that would be a good thing. I don't even think he should do exhibitions because
oh,
he's clearly slurring when he speaks,
yeah, and
and
he
it's
had far
unfortunate.
less fights than Holyfield, you can say, or he retired much
Yeah,
younger. So
yeah. You're right. So that goes to show, yeah, you never know, but he definitely should not be thinking in that capacity.
yeah, I mean, I love all those guys, but I don't think they should be really coming back in anyway. Maybe,
But one of the things they see how well Tyson Jones did. I'm sure that only
yeah,
kind of fuels the fire in some sense, especially if you get one of these companies like Triller, who's going to pay for it. And I know we've completely gone on a tangent, but you see that they ended up outbidding the zone top ranking for the Teofimo Lopez versus Cambosos fight.
Yeah.
6 million. I think the highest bid that
Wow.
outside of that was I guess the zone at 3 point something, 3.5 or something of that nature.
Yeah, that's not just small cash.
The question is whether Triller becomes a real player. I don't know if you've noticed them, but they have this little app. It's sort of like TikTok, where you can make these little short videos,
Yeah,
sort of like TikTok and these other little short video type.
yeah,
It's an app like that. So I guess I don't know if they're trying to peddle that or if they're just or what the deal is, but it's interesting that they shelled out that much. For this fight
mm,
just to make sure that they can get it. And I'm guessing, of course, they got money to spare right now. But
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting to see if they're going to be a real player in boxing.
yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the game has changed already, in so many ways. So it's
Without a doubt.
changing. Yeah,
Without a doubt. But yeah, I guess we can keep going. May 6th, Oscar De La Hoya, who was always one of my favorite
oh,
fighters, he came back in 2006 to defeat Ricardo Mayorga in an entertaining fight. Mayorga thought his bully tactics at the weigh-ins and all the press conferences was going to get into De La Hoya's head, and ultimately it did not because he got dropped in the first round, and it looked like, okay, yes, this guy can actually fight. And it
yeah,
didn't get any better for him there, even though he may have had a couple of little moments, but it was clear that De La Hoya was a level above.
definitely. Yeah, it was so impressive that he was able to stop Mayorga in 6 rounds because, of course, it took Trinidad 8 rounds. To do so, and he was even knocked down once. So Hoya was simply a class above, and yeah, I mean, you feel maybe if he hadn't been, of course, he had to be a little cautious. So if he had went all out in the first round,
Mhm.
you feel maybe he could have stopped it, stopped
Yes,
Mayorga. Yeah,
I feel that's the case,
yeah,
just based on the shot that he caught him with.
yeah, definitely. That was I believe a left hook or right, doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think it was a left hook, and Mayorga, yeah, he's a tough guy, but man, that was a shot.
Yeah, tough
And
guy. Yeah.
but man, that was a heck of a hook that caught him and
Yeah,
dropped him.
but I guess Oscar really wanted to teach him a lesson, to give him a beating, because Mayorga had said
Mhm.
some bad things, really nasty about him and his family, kind of
Yeah,
slapped him, I believe, in the prep.
he was always entertaining in his press conferences, I would
Yeah,
say.
he just went too far. I mean, further than anybody, perhaps.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did the
That's a
same with
funny
Shane
guy.
Mosley, if you remember. Yeah,
Oh yeah, hey, I felt like that was staged.
yeah,
What do you
hey,
think? I was like, that had to be staged. Come on.
yeah,
I
probably.
wasn't surprised. It definitely fit Mayorga's mo, but I felt like that particular piece of it was staged.
I don't know, really. That guy is simply crazy. I mean,
Yeah, he is. He is. But so yeah, we had that. Then I don't think I saw this fight, but May 20th, 2006, Marco Antonio Barrera beat Rocky Juarez
yeah,
via split decision.
great fight.
Did you watch that?
Yeah,
I don't think I saw it.
I have it, but now there's also a few years since I have
Yeah,
seen. But it's great, really great, close fight. Very, very, true action fight. Yeah, I think it was close, but Barrera won. I think by 1 or 2 rounds, something.
yeah, it was a split decision. So, but then, oh, look, what I'm reading here,
Yeah,
it was originally announced a draw, but it ended up being a split decision because two cards were tabulated wrong, whatever that means.
yeah, Rocky Juarez. He was also back at the time one a really good contender. really tough.
Oh yeah, oh Rocky. Yeah, I do remember Rocky. Not a ton of his fights, but I do remember him. I may have seen a couple of them.
Yeah, he
If
fought.
he fought Juan Diaz,
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And Chris
Baby Boy
John.
Diaz.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Chris John. Chris John. I wonder if his name will pop up. Maybe he
yeah,
wasn't high profile. Maybe he wasn't high profile enough though.
yeah. Unfortunately, he was very good, but he fought too much at home, I guess. So,
Yeah, yeah. But he was able to beat Juan Manuel Marquez. What do
yeah.
you know?
Even though many say, "Oh, that should have been a Marquez
Yeah,
victory," but I don't know really. I've seen it, but it's pretty hard to score that fight, because so many
yeah,
rounds are close, and yeah, simply,
yeah. Those types of fights, yeah, definitely are tough, and they could go either way for history. You know.
yeah. So,
All right. Moving on, June 10th, 2010 or 2006. My bad. Bernard Hopkins defeated Antonio
but
Tarper. I do recall this fight for a unanimous decision to take the light heavyweight title.
yeah,
Um, and what I do recall to this fight primarily was the fact that Tarver just seemed to be unable to really land that left hand, and therefore Bernard Hopkins was able to outcraft him.
yeah, and he had been, doing that movie Rocky Balboa, so he had to put on a lot of muscle.
Oh yeah,
Then he had to lose that before this fight, so I guess that also kind of,
oh yeah,
yeah,
Mason the Lion Dixon.
yeah,
Forgot
that's right. Yeah, so it was a
about
pretty
that.
poor performance by Tarver. So, I mean, I think quite many expected him to win because it was the first fight for Hopkins at the new weight, and yeah, so
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So yeah, it's just one of those situations. I forgot he was in that movie, so
yeah,
I can see how that
he's
that could have affected things. You know, when you knock out Roy Jones, then you start getting all the roles and all that
yeah,
stuff.
that's right. Before that, Roy Jones was getting all the roles.
Yeah, basically.
Remakes.
All right. So then the next big fight, June 17th. So a week later, we got Winky Wright versus Jermaine Taylor, which ended in a draw. I don't really recall
Good fight.
every detail of the fight. I just remember it was close, and
Yeah, me
that and
too.
it was a similar situation. People. There were people that felt Winky won. People felt Jermaine won. Probably more so who felt Winky won. I don't remember all the details. I need to look at it again. Actually.
Yeah, I don't remember the details, but I think I mean both guys fought pretty well. I mean, it was very close. So I remember Winky was very aggressive in some rounds and kind of pushed Taylor, which was a little bit surprising because he's small, but he pushed Taylor against the ropes a couple of times, and but he didn't land that much. In those moments. So
Yeah.
I guess that was the reason why some said that Winky should have won, but I thought it was pretty fair that decision.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Good to go. So then we go on. Let's see. Baltimore defended his title and beat Arturo Gatti. I see Edwin Valero, who I'm sure will pop up again. He won the WBA super featherweight title, defeating Vicente Mosquera,
Mm.
10th round TKO in Panama. I know this was around the time where he couldn't fight in the U.S. for sure because of the situation with him in that motorcycle accident and
Oh
whether he
yeah,
was actually cleared to fight.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that
you know, you
was
know,
amazing. Yeah.
whether he was credibly cleared to fight at least.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, he was. He was an amazing fighter. Definitely, I'm sure his name will pop up again.
yeah. Because that guy Mosquera, I have seen him also fight. He was pretty
Hmm.
amazing himself. Actually, he was very fast guy, very skillful, and but
Okay.
Valero was simply too much for him in the end. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was a
yeah, he was
fight,
like a
but yeah, Valero.
yeah. I don't think I saw this fight. Just from the other fights I've seen of Valero, yeah, he was definitely a locomotive, and he seemed to be able to keep fighting at an intense level later in fights.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Then we have October 12th of that same year, 2006. We're on Oleg Maskayev knocked out Hasim Rothman. And this was around one of those times. This was in the 12th round, WBC title he won with that. But this is around the time. This was right before the Klitschko's were able to grasp up all the titles, or a couple of years before that happened, at least. I remember Maskev. Then you're going to see some Chigayevs and
Mm.
uh, others. I'm sure
Ibrahim,
that had.
yes,
That's what I was trying to think of him. This is before they were able to scoop him up and pretty much hold on to him for a long period.
yeah. Those guys are perhaps so almost forgotten now. But, yeah, that was a pretty special time, and you had
Oh yeah,
all these different champions from faraway countries, so
yeah, definitely. Yeah, there was a lot of them, or they were all spread about for the most part. Uh, Then September 16th, Marco Antonio Barrera, he fought Rocky Juarez again and successfully defended his WBC super featherweight title. Did you end up watching that one as well?
no, no, or
I
wait,
know that I did.
maybe I have, but once perhaps. Now I don't really remember it. Or I don't think I've seen it really.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see it either. Then October 14th, Mikhail Kessler unified the WBC and WBA super middleweight titles, knocking out Marcus Bayer
Yeah,
in 3 rounds. I know I haven't seen that, but Kessler, this was when he was on top of his game for sure,
yeah.
or at least making his name, the Viking Warrior.
I've only seen that on the knockout, so yeah,
Cool.
that's pretty brutal.
Yeah. Then November 4th, Floyd Mayweather Jr. Became the linear welterweight champion, WBC and linear welterweight champion by defeating Carlos Baldomir in a fight where, yeah, Floyd just pretty much outboxed him. It wasn't necessarily an exciting and entertaining fight, even though, yeah, some people had said he should face Baltimore, and he did, but he won pretty handily, from what I
Yeah, it
recall.
was. I haven't seen it, but they say it was a boring fight, and I know, of course,
Yeah.
Larry Merchant was very down. When he interviewed Floyd afterwards, he said, "Do you think that this was exciting?" He was like, he was pointing, and Floyd got all upset. Oh, you never give me any credit, and
That's funny. But yeah, I remember watching it. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily an exciting fight. And I think, yeah, it wasn't just solely on him, but Carlos Baldomir, he was more of a kind of plotter, come forward guy.
yeah,
And
slow guy.
Floyd just outboxed him.
Yeah, simple.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, Let me see. Then November 11th, Vladimir Klitschko knocked out Calvin Brock. Still a pretty excellent knockout, defending his IBF heavyweight title. This was the next American guy who was making waves, at least going to be that guy. I remember hearing from Calvin Brock after that.
mm,
But I know he got hurt, or he had some kind of issues or something that came about why he didn't keep fighting. I can't recall exactly what it was, but it may
yeah.
have been some kind of medical issue.
Wasn't he like some kind of a banker? I think he was called something like
Yeah,
punch
maybe.
banker. Or
Yeah, but yeah, I remember. Yeah, he was like, this was the start of that sort of wave of, hey, we found this American guy. He's gonna be the one.
yeah,
No, we found this one.
he's
This
gonna
went
knock
on.
out Klitschko. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this went on for a good number of years, probably until probably like 2 or 3 years ago, actually.
I remember. I
Uh,
seen Brock knock out that guy. I think it was Zuri Lawrence. That was a pretty good. I mean, he could punch definitely,
mm,
but he still wasn't. He was a lot of shorter. I remember also that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. than Vladimir. So yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't on Vlad's level.
yeah,
And then to close out that year, 2006, actually, this is when Manny Pacquiao knocked out Eric Morales in 3 rounds.
yeah. We don't have.
Not necessarily a knockout, as in he was knocked out cold. More so, knocked the fighting spirit out of Eric Morales.
Yeah, that was just an old Morales, not physically, but I guess in his soul. Already an
Yeah,
old man. Yeah,
yeah, that's a good way to put it for sure.
yeah. I don't think he really enjoyed fighting anymore. And of course, he had maybe one more fight, which he also lost to that guy. What's it, David Diaz, I believe. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Who
yeah,
would have not even been on his level
yeah.
in his prime?
I know
Wouldn't have been at all on his.
some people said it was controversial loss, but anyway, he retired after that, so wasn't back for like 3 years later. So Morales was,
Yeah,
of course, it was just too much and just a really big mistake to sign for that third fight after
yeah.
losing the second one. So
That probably should have took a little lighter touch up
yeah,
prior to doing something like that.
I would understand. I would have understood if he lost on points, in the second fight, but he was stopped, So yeah.
Cool.
Mm,
All right, now we're moving on to 2007. The first big fight, of course, is Sam Peter taking on James Toney, getting the W,
mm,
becoming the number one challenger for Oleg Maskayev, WBC heavyweight title. I don't really recall. I remember seeing the highlights of the fight. Of
yeah.
course, we know that James Toney has a pretty solid chin. Sam Peter as well, generally, and
Mm,
Sam Peter, he was a pretty decent puncher. If he was able to catch you head on,
yeah.
I don't remember too much about the fight, but I guess Peter got that nod, and
Mm.
he tried to take his best advantage of it as he could.
Yes, this was kind of the fat James Stoney, who
Yeah, yeah,
would come in the ring like he was just saggy all the way.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, he,
and
he did pretty well considering his shape, and considering he
yeah,
was fighting stronger, bigger guys. So,
yeah, that was purely skill right there that allowed him to be able to do what he did
mm,
at that weight. His
yeah,
defensive style, I guess.
yeah. I mean, he was just being lazy because he was never true heavyweight. So should have stayed at least at cruiserweight because he had just
Mm-hmm.
won that title from that guy. What's his name?
Giraffe.
Giro. Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah.
then it was the money, I guess, that called him. So to
Oh yeah, they say that's where the big bucks is at,
yeah,
are at in the heavyweights
yeah, that's
division.
true.
All right, then we'll move on. Skip a couple of those and go to February 3rd. Chad Dawson became the WBC light heavyweight champion by defeating Thomas Adamek,
Yep.
who looked to be the guy.
Yeah, it
Dawson
was
is at that time.
one of
That was
my
a very good
favorite.
win.
Yeah, I really liked Dawson. He was really so good technically. I mean,
Yeah,
never a puncher, but he was tough also. Yeah, I know he would go down, but then he would just get up and just go at
yeah.
it again. So yeah,
And Thomas Adamek, he was he was very good at this weight. He was on top of his game, so this was a good
and he was definitely
even matchup.
definitely a puncher. In contrast to Dawson, but I guess a
He's-
little bit more like an offensive fighter than a true technician. I guess so.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so as well. And I know he went on to go to higher weights, but
Yeah,
I felt that he was in over his head at heavyweight,
yeah,
not a true
definitely.
heavyweight.
Another guy that should have stayed at cruiserweight. No, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would have been ideal because I remember, yeah, he just could not match up with um, those bigger guys
Yeah,
like that, in my opinion.
I seen him against Vitali Klitschko. He was. I
Yeah,
mean,
which is a crazy size advantage, right?
yeah. I mean, each time he would land anything, there was no reaction, no effect whatsoever. And, you know,
Yeah,
he had no chance. You could see it. Right.
not at all. All right, then we'll move. Shane Mosey became the WBC welterweight champion by defeating Luis Collazo, who still had a Collazo. Is a formidable fighter. I know he's still active, I guess, in some sense. He hasn't fought as much, but yeah, this was Mosley getting back down to welterweight to pick up a title, and
Mm,
after campaigning, not finding a ton of success overall at 154. But
mm.
he went back down to welterweight and sort of rekindled his career in a bit.
Yeah, it became his, yeah, I guess his best weight after, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, later in his career, probably what he can be recognized with mostly, or his most recognizable fights outside of, I guess, the De La Hoya fights and the Wright fights. This welterweight stuff, just kind of what he was able to do here at the tail end was pretty good stuff. Um, Then March 3rd, Rafael Marquez defeated Ring Magazine and WBC Super Bantamweight champion Israel Vasquez by seventh round technical knockout. I think this was their. Would this have been their first fight?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
March 3rd, 2007. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, great fight, simply. But I remember Marquez was simply outboxing. I mean, he was simply yeah, he outboxed Vasquez and was simply
Yeah,
doing everything right, having the right game plan. And yeah, he broke, I
I
guess,
had.
Vasquez's nose. That's what led to the
Oh,
stoppage.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen all the fights. I know I should have. I've seen the fourth for sure, but the other ones I've only
great
seen the
fights.
highlights. Great, yeah, I heard great trilogy that had a fourth fight that wasn't great, but
Mm,
yeah,
yeah, so
I'm gonna have to go back and check out those. I was just actually reading something probably like last week, where Vasquez from back when he had to get an eye removed. I think it's his right
all
eye,
right. Oh,
because of all the damage he had taken.
I know he's born the same age and year as I am, so Vasquez. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
something we have in
cool.
common.
Cool. Usually, yeah.
Mm,
But yeah, I remember his scar tissue was pretty bad.
yeah,
He would cut at the dime.
he have been in some really hard fights. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. All right. Then moving on, it's worth mentioning at least. Klitschko knocked out Ray Austin. This is when he was really starting to get in his groove. Juan Manuel Marquez on March 17th, 2007, defeated Marco Antonio Barrera by unanimous decision.
Yeah, another pretty good. I mean, pretty exciting fight it was. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And this was where people were saying, hey, where has this Mexican great Juan Manuel Marquez been all of this time? How come we haven't been mentioning him along the lines of Barrera,
yeah.
Morales, etc.? It was like, let's see how he does moving forward.
Yeah, of course he won that fight. It was, I thought the scorecards were too wide, but he did win, of course. But it was a lot closer than the scorecards. Than the judges said. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I know we mentioned this before. Marquez is more of that traditional counterpuncher by comparison to the more offensive Morales and Barrera.
yeah. So I remember particularly the seventh round, which was where Marquez was really, really dominating. He was really, really landing some great shots. And then at the very end, he just ran into a punch from Barrera and was knocked down. But then,
Oh yeah,
then Barrera hit him while he was down, and he lost that point. He lost.
yeah, yeah. I remember that he had two gloves on the canvas, basically.
Yeah. So that was pretty dumb move by Barrera, of course.
Yeah, and that definitely that was a point he could have used.
Yeah,
Could have altered things.
definitely.
All right, then March 24th, 2007, Kessler defeated Liberado
Um,
Andrade
yeah,
by shutout unanimous decision. This says I haven't seen that fight, but I like Liberador.
yeah, me neither.
He's a tough guy.
Yeah, very tough. Yeah, he was.
Limited just from the overall just skill standpoint, but he
He was a
could make the best of what he had, and he had
yeah,
an iron chin
he was
for the
a
most part, at
crowd
least.
favorite, definitely. Yeah. Strong
Oh
guy.
yes.
Mm.
Then we can move on to so April 7th, Joe Calzaghe beat Peter Manfredo,
Not
who was on a
sure
contender.
fight.
Yeah, yeah. I remember Manfredo, um, like his Italian cat.
Yeah,
I get Jersey, but he seemed like one of them Jersey Shore cats to me.
Jersey
Um,
boy.
yeah. So then, yeah, moving on, we had April 14th, Ruslan Chigayev became the new WBA heavyweight champion
Yeah,
after defeating Mikhail Valuev by majority decision. A fight I haven't seen.
really great. I mean, mismatch, but Chagai managed to overcome that
Yeah,
immense difference in height and reach and all.
because Chigayev was like 6 foot, right?
Yeah,
Maybe 6'1".
it's like
Yeah.
a whole foot difference.
Yeah, it's
Whole
crazy.
foot taller.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy thinking about
But
that.
yeah, he did. I've seen. I mean, some of the fight. I remember. I couldn't be bothered to watch the whole thing, but I know that Aluev just he. Sorry, I mean Chagai. He just moved and danced and boxed. He just did what he was supposed to.
Yeah, that's kind of the formula for value of you keep him away
Yeah,
or keep away from him. That's gonna get in
yeah,
there and get your shots off.
definitely.
It's not like he has the speed to really catch up or cut the ring off.
Yeah.
Uh, so moving on, April 28th, Juan Diaz unified the WBA and WBO lightweight titles in a fight I haven't seen. I need to watch it. Acelino Freitas.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Freitas retired in his corner before the start of the ninth.
Yeah,
So,
I'm a Freitas fan, so I didn't want to watch it. So,
all right. Good stuff. And then May 5th, probably the biggest fight of, well, I guess the biggest fight of that decade. Well, numbers wise, I guess the biggest fight of that decade. This is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Oscar De La Hoya, May 5th, 2007. Now, the Lennox Lewis Mike Tyson fight didn't have the numbers this fight had, but was arguably bigger.
mm,
Just think about it from an overall perspective. But yes, I recall this fight, all the build up leading to it, and even this mentioned this page mentioned the HBO airing the 24/7 series. They starting that at that particular time. But there was a lot of fanfare and a lot of interest for this fight, and at the time, it did set the pay per view mark. Which, if I'm correct, it was like 2.4 million or something like that.
yeah,
Or am I over thinking it? It's somewhere around that, if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it was
Um,
huge. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so you had the Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya taking on Floyd Mayweather Jr. And this was De La Hoya. It was at 154, right? Or did they do a catch weight?
Yeah,
No, I
that's
think they didn't do a catch weight,
154,
right?
I think, because it was a
Yeah,
defense
yeah.
of that title he took from Mayorga. Yeah, so
Yeah, but I know that in watching the fight, and I actually watched it again not too long ago, probably a few months back. And I just recall that Oscar De La Hoya had some moments, but I felt Floyd Mayweather dominated the second half of the fight for sure. De La Hoya had some moments early on, and he had, of course, the crowd, cheer for
yeah,
everything he did. But I thought that the cleaner punching was definitely done by Mayweather, especially in that tail end, as he was really tagging De La Hoya, who was at this point was kind of just coming forward, not really able to land much, but only when he tied him up and got off a bunch of sort of pitter patter shots.
yeah. I remember Hoya had him against the ropes a few times, but he was like throwing a lot of shots, but not all of them were landing, of course. I I remember first time I saw the fight, I scored. I believe I scored it 116 to 112 for Mayweather, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that reminds me. I think I have my score here from
Maybe
when
I
I
don't know. Maybe it
last.
could have been a little closer, but I still think Mayweather won.
I think I had it 117, 111.
Yeah,
But of course, you had some rounds that probably could have been.
yeah. And I remember Bernard Hopkins was in the crowd cheering for De La Hoya. That was
Uh,
very, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Each time,
Because he was on the team at that point,
yeah,
right? Yeah, he was on De La Hoya's Golden Boy. He still is. But yeah.
yeah. And I remember each time De La Hoya would have Mayweather against the ropes, he would jump up, start cheering. He doesn't
Yeah,
like Floyd, so, I guess.
yeah. So I actually watched it maybe because it popped up in May 2nd, 2020. Probably because it was popped up on like Top Ranks page or something or Golden Boys page. But I watched it and scored it May 2nd last year, and I had it 117, 111
So
for
I was,
Mayweather.
yeah, I think it was probably, yeah, I don't think Oscar won more than 4 rounds, so something.
Yeah, but you have those that think that Oscar won. But
Yeah,
hey, you never know.
I mean, if somebody said it was a draw, all right, but to think that he
Yeah.
won, I don't see that. I don't see how he could have won. Simply, he wasn't that. He didn't do enough. You know, simply, it
Oh
was a
yeah, without
split
a doubt.
decision, of course, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yep, and moving on from there, May 7th, Diego Corrales died in a motorcycle accident. I see that listed here.
yeah.
Unfortunate situation. I know he was in Vegas
Tragic.
at that particular time. Yeah, tragic situation there. So his career was cut short.
Hmm.
Um, then June 2nd, Sultan Ibrahim, how do you say it?
Well, you can
Ibrahimov
say
or
Ibrahimov. Ibrahim.
Ibrahimov. All right, so this is the one you were talking about where,
I,
well, he actually defeated Shannon Briggs by, unanimous decision to pick up the WBO heavyweight title.
yeah, he did.
Uh,
Yeah, That's,
Ibrahimov.
hmm. Yeah, he was very good. Just not. He was also rather small for a heavyweight, so that was his main weakness, I guess. But he was
Yeah,
pretty. I mean, he could punch pretty hard for his size and pretty fast and everything. Technically good enough, also. So he was.
good stuff.
Hmm,
All right. Then moving on from there, June 9th, the big fight. I haven't watched the whole fight. I've seen just varying highlights. I know what happened. June 9th, Miguel Cotto defended his WBA welterweight title against Zab Judah, won a technical knockout in the 11th round. I remember there being controversy surrounding the low blows in that fight.
yeah,
Did you watch it?
yeah, I did. I did. Now there's also a few years, but I remember that low blow. Yeah, that's right. I don't remember which round it was in, but I guess it's just another, that had become a habit for Judah at by then, and he was good in the early rounds, but then
Yeah,
just faded and just got dominated by Kodo and simply
yeah,
Kodo
and yeah, he
was,
was yeah busted up
yeah,
there at
he
the
got
end.
a beating simply. So
Uh, so and that was Kodo, continuing to make his mark. Really, really one that set the tone for him. Then June 23rd, Ricky Hatton took on Jose Luis Castillo
yeah,
and defended his ring lightweight crown. Ended up stopping him with a liver punch.
yeah, pretty
Uh,
brutal.
Oh yeah. So Ricky Hatton, and this was where we started to get the rumblings and waves. Like, oh yeah, Ricky Hatton. He's one of the big guys, big names with a lot of fanfare. His fans actually travel, which was a good thing. And then
Yeah,
we started hearing mention, I guess you could say, of hey, him and Floyd Mayweather potentially meeting up. So I'm sure their names will pop up again.
mm.
Uh, July 7th, one of the excellent one punch knockouts, Victor Chinyan lost his IBF and IBO flyweight titles to Nonito, the Filipino Flash Donaire,
Mm.
uh, in what was an excellent punch that put him out in the fifth round. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's just one worth seeing.
yeah, that's true. I only seen that knockout, not the whole fight, but I heard that that Chinyan had some problems, from the start from with Donaire. So
Yeah,
I guess he was stylistically the wrong opponent.
yeah. Nonito's a little bit bigger, well, definitely in height and reach, longer, and very, very much athletic. So
Yeah,
he was
that's
able
right.
to,
So Victor Chinyan was all used to breaking his opponents down. So
yeah, he liked to get in close, I know,
yeah,
and that kind of played into the hands of Nonito. Was able to
that
catch him coming in.
yeah, definitely.
A heck of a shot.
That just can happen to everyone, I guess. So,
Yeah, yeah. Then July 14th, Paul Williams became the WBO welterweight champion by defeating Antonio Margarito, unanimous decision.
that's
I remember, yeah, high output fighters, both of these guys.
mm,
And, something had to give, and it's just ultimately Paul Williams was able to put out more of that output than
yeah,
Margarito at that particular time.
yeah. Margarito started too slow in the first 6 rounds. If I remember, he didn't do much. He just and then he turned it on for the next 5 rounds. Maybe he won. Maybe I don't know, at least 4 rounds. So maybe five. I don't know. So, but at the end, also Williams came back. He closed strong and he simply earned that victories.
Oh, yeah,
Mm.
without a doubt. Then moving forward, 18th. I don't know the first guy, but Punsaket Wongjakman. I remember him, but he
But
lost
yeah,
to this Daisuke Naito. Naito, I don't even know,
yeah,
but WBC
that's
flyweight title he lost.
right.
I remember Punsaket.
Mm. Yeah, I have seen that fight, and I didn't really follow those lower divisions back then. So,
Yeah, yeah.
sadly,
Same here, not as much. This was a Thai fighter. There were a lot of good Thai fighters
yeah, he
coming out of
was
there that
amazing
time.
as far as I understand. So I've seen some of his fights, but not so many, just a couple, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really recall if I've seen any of his actually. I know of him for sure, but
Yeah, he was
there were.
undefeated for a long time. Yeah, I believe he
Yeah,
made 17 title defenses. I think he was WBC champion. Yeah, for
yeah. Well, yeah, WBC flyweight. So yeah, that's good stuff. 17 defenses. That's historic territory right there.
yeah,
Um, Then July 21st, Bernard Hopkins beat Winky Wright in an anticipated matchup. I think they fought at catch weight. I can't remember what the catch weight was because Winky was at
Yeah,
160 at this time, and
170 maybe, something like that.
yeah, it might have been 170. I don't remember a ton of details about the fight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know if I have ever seen the whole fight either because
We might have just kind of glossed over it a bit.
yeah, it was a little.
But these were interesting. This was two guys with. Um, but yeah, they would make for an interesting fight, I guess you can say. So yeah, I don't know.
It
I
was
just
just
glossed over it.
too much for Winky to go to fight at that high weight. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Then moving on, August 4th, Izzy Vasquez defeated Rafael Marquez in that second fight. 6 round knockout.
Yeah,
He captured the WBC Super Bantamweight title.
mhm. That was a very impressive victory. Simply, uh, what else to say? Nothing. He just took him out in the
Oh,
sixth round,
yes.
and yeah, he did
Cool.
his stuff. His yeah.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch that for sure. I need to make sure that I capture all of this series. It's a shame I've only seen the fourth fight.
Yeah, because Marquez was, I think he was a big favorite to win that fight also. But maybe he thought, oh, I'm just gonna outbox him like the first time. Maybe he took him too light. I don't know. But yeah, I remember maybe the first four fights were even. Then in the fifth, Vasquez started hurting him, and then in sixth, he just knocked him out. And, yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna try to catch those fights here. Excuse me, a little bit later, maybe. Um, August 25th, Ivan Calderon. I remember him, the Puerto Rican, great little Puerto Rican fighter.
oh yeah,
Beat Hugo Cazares. This was where he won WBO and ring light flyweight title.
hmm.
So interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And then comes a very interesting fight.
Very interesting fight. September 29th, 2006. Kelly the Ghost Pavlik upset Jermaine Taylor with a seventh round stoppage to win the WBC, WBO, and universally recognized middleweight championship.
Yeah,
But yeah, so this was an excellent fight because in that, was it the first or second round? No, second
second.
round.
Yeah,
Yeah, in the second round, it looked like Taylor was about to get Kelly Pavlik out of there, and Pavlik was taking some huge shots, and he showed that he had a hell of a chin to be able to recover from that.
yeah. I remember he was. I mean, I've seen it a few times. Yeah, he was really being better than he was down. Yeah, and then
Yeah, hey, I interviewed the referee at that particular time, which was Steve Smoger.
oh yeah,
I interviewed him a couple of years back, and I remember he was saying that after the fight, uh, when he had talked to Kelly Pavlik, Kelly, he asked Kelly, was he out of it uh, when he took those shots from uh, Taylor? And I can't remember exactly, but to paraphrase, I know he was saying that Kelly had mentioned that that was the first time in his career where, like, he was there, but he couldn't feel his legs or whatever,
oh yeah.
and that's when he
Tall guy.
ultimately went down. But he was able to recover. He said he was able to recover, but that was the first time he couldn't feel his legs
Oh yeah,
after taking the shot.
yeah. He was. I mean, fortunately for him, he was a very tough guy, and he just.
Yeah,
I believe he soon came back to take control. I'm not sure which round, fifth maybe. He really took
yeah.
control, and
Yeah, that's when he really started to come on. But at that after that knockdown or whatever, thankfully it wasn't too far from the bell, so
but
he was
yeah,
able to
right,
get that minute.
right, yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because yeah, big shots.
definitely. That was not not the situation that he wanted to be in. Yeah,
Yeah, but he showed his prowess, bounced back, and he was able to trap Taylor in the corner there in the seventh, and
yeah,
And yeah, he was just firing off, and Taylor was just done, slumped over. A good stoppage.
Yeah, that's pretty much like a movie victory or
Yeah,
a Rocky victory. First, you get knocked down, and then yeah, you knock out. You.
and when I go and look back, and Kelly Pavlik, it's like it seems like he was a fighter that was older from yesteryear, but he's only 38 years old, so he stopped at a earlier age than what we're
Yeah,
seeing at least now.
yeah, it was sudden. He was back at 168, and everybody expected him to, now to start
I
taking
know he had some
over.
issues and things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or to fight someone of those champions, but then he just suddenly retired. And I remember one guy is asking, it was at this live chat or something, or
yeah,
and why did you retire? And he just said, "Oh no, I had enough. Was fighting for 13 years, and he was just not. I
yeah,
think he didn't want to be completely honest. I don't know, me, but yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes if you don't have it, it's better to step out when you know that you're not there, other than get hurt trying to play a facade.
yeah. I mean, he wasn't any longer what he was at 160, I guess, and yeah, he was
Yeah.
really beaten up by Sergio Martinez. So he had a few
Oh, yeah, he was.
tough losses, yeah. So
Yeah, so I guess understandable in that sense.
yeah,
Um, October 2007, Manny Pacquiao defeated Marco Antonio Barrera, whose name has popped up here often over this decade.
I have,
Yeah, I do recall this fight.
I have.
I do recall seeing. Well, I guess I would say highlights. You haven't. You're saying you haven't seen it?
No, not yet. I have planned to see it before, but I've only seen the first fight, which we have already talked about. So
Yeah. So yeah, I think I've just seen the highlights of this one as
I know
well. But
that Barrera did do better than in the first fight, but not
yeah,
he didn't really. It wasn't that close, I guess. So
yeah, and I guess Marco retired after this fight. At least announced his
oh
retirement.
yeah, and
So
then came back just like once
yeah,
6 months later. So,
people often do.
yeah,
You can only think of a handful who actually do retire and stay retired.
yeah, it's too hard.
Even I'm hearing rumblings. It seems like that there's a lot of rumblings as of late of Canelo versus Andre Ward, or at least that's been a topic as of late.
Wow.
We'll see what happens though.
Hmm.
I think that's what make Ward the. I could be wrong. I wonder if this would make him the first international boxing Hall of Famer to fight actively again
Oh yeah,
outside of. Oh yeah. So this will be the first because this is his first. He's going in this year along with Floyd and
oh yeah.
Vladimir, and
I
so
think
that'd be
actually
interesting.
Virgil Hill he had a fight after he was also inducted.
Oh, you did mention that
Yeah,
earlier.
so he is the first one. So far the only one I think.
How long ago was that Virgil Hill had this fight? Not too long ago.
2015 I think it was.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Oh yeah, I remember you mentioned that, but I was thinking it was a little further back though.
Yeah, so it was just some tomato can because he won by a second round TKO or something very easily.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So, yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, I guess he'd be like the second. What's the name wasn't inducted? Was Sergio Martinez? He hasn't been inducted, right?
no, no, no.
No, I remember he spoke at the Hall of Fame one of those
All
years.
right.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of that. All right. October 13th, Ibrahimov defeated Evander Holyfield in a 12th round unanimous decision. Yes, that same Evander Holyfield from the 80s and 90s, people. He got defeated. He was fighting at heavyweight. He was going on, and I know he still wanted to continue the fight even long after he was pretty much done.
Yeah, I haven't seen that fight, but Yeah, I maybe
Yeah, I didn't watch it either.
maybe I've seen some highlights. Perhaps I'm not sure, but yeah, I think I read about it. Holyfield did have some good rounds, but he was just out fought, simply by a younger guy.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Father Time is undefeated, as they say.
yeah, that's right.
November 4th, Joe Calzaghe defeated Mikhail Kessler. And this was for a unification of the WBA, WBC, and WBO super middleweight titles.
Yeah,
And this was the first loss for Kessler, who was undefeated at the time. The battle of two guys who were undefeated,
yeah, I think
and both, on top of their game.
he was like 41 and old, Kessler, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
Um,
was a good fight, pretty close, but yeah, I mean, Joe that did win it, of course, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. And then skipping ahead, we're gonna go to December 8th. Floyd Mayweather Jr. defended his WBC and ring welterweight titles against Ricky the Hitman Hatton with a 10th round technical knockout. This took place in Las Vegas, but you wouldn't be able to tell because all the fans seemed to be from the UK. But it was an excellent environment or atmosphere. I imagine being there live would have been the case even more so. But it was a fight in which Ricky Hatton, he started out okay. I would say the first two rounds, you can say,
Yeah,
probably around first two, maybe three rounds. He wasn't really able to, work his way in. I know that was a complaint for many with the Joe Cortez
yeah,
being the referee, that Hatton wasn't going to be able to do a lot of work on the inside, which he really wasn't able to do. And then, of course, we know that definitely did not play into his favor later on in the fight.
yeah. I think I can see why they were upset with Joe Cortez, because he did seem to interfere a little more than he had to. I mean, so,
Hmm.
of course, it can't just be blame on him. Of course, that Hatton lost.
Yeah,
So he,
yeah, it's not solely him for
yeah,
sure.
he simply
Hmm.
got a little too reckless and walked right into a punch, and after that, it was no way back. So
Yeah, and 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 he may have been able to get away with that at lower weight,
mm,
but
yeah,
this is at 147. This was his first fight at 147, if I'm not mistaken, right?
mm,
Or
yeah.
they thought, okay, yeah. So yeah, this was his first one at 147. So yeah,
Or no, it wasn't his first at 147. He had one against
or did he beat
Palazzo.
Colazzo?
Yeah,
Okay,
so that was
yeah,
his
Colazzo.
second,
So
I
okay,
believe. Yeah,
second fight. Okay, cool. So yeah, but yeah, Floyd Mayweather ultimately was able to catch him with the check hook coming in, sent him into the corner
that was a
mat
little,
thing or whatever the heck.
that was a little
Yeah,
funny, but yeah,
yeah, and then yeah, kind of took the spirit out of the place.
yeah.
So yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, that was probably the last big one of 2007. And let's move on to 2008. We're gonna try to wrap this thing up. Oh,
Yeah,
so many good fights. So we just have 2008, 2009 to go.
hopefully.
Uh, so 2008. Let's go look at some of the big ones. And we don't have to spend too much time at some of them because they were really, just fights that you can gloss over. Like January 19th, I guess the first big fight, Roy Jones defeating Felix Trinidad, who was coming in after a 2 year hiatus, and the second fight in 5 years, basically is what it's saying. And it was a unanimous decision for Roy Jones, but I believe this was at like 168 or 175 or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was a weight higher than what Trinidad uh, would be formidable at. I just recall that he
Yeah,
just seemed like a shot fighter.
maybe
He
it was
was
a
just,
catch weight too. I think
oh yeah, it could have been that.
yeah,
But yeah, and this was Roy who was passed it himself against a past it inactive Felix Trinidad. I just remember seeing. I've seen enough of the highlights to get a pulse of what the fight was like. So um, yeah, it was just one of those type of fights. Two legends of the sport going at it, I guess you can say. Um, February 16th, Kelly Pavlik defeated Jermaine Taylor in the rematch. And I felt that this was Jermaine Taylor seeking to do whatever he could to try to just last the full 12 rounds because he didn't want to gas. And Kelly Pavlik rightfully earned that unanimous decision win. He seemed to be the better fighter and the conqueror of Taylor at that point, who I think in the previous fight, after suffering that loss, maybe fired Emmanuel Stewart. I think he had Emmanuel Stewart in his corner.
Yeah.
But it really didn't matter because even though he was able to go to 12 rounds, you can tell that he was trying his best to survive the 12 rounds. That seemed to be his main aim, not gas.
All right. I haven't seen that fight actually, so I know it was at
Okay.
it was at 168, right? Something.
Was it at
Yeah,
168?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, it might have been. Yeah, it might have
Yeah.
been. It might have been. Yeah, because he started campaigning there before that,
Mm.
because that's where he fought Fry at, right? So,
Yeah.
um, cool. So then, February 23rd, Vladimir Klitschko unified the IBF and WO by defeating Ibragimov via unanimous decision in NYC, Madison Square Garden.
Mm. I remember many said it was a boring fight, so
Yeah, I didn't watch
I didn't bother
it.
to either. So it was just a case of him being so big and
Yeah,
his physical advantages. And yeah.
without a doubt. And then March 1st, Izzy Vasquez, he defeated Rafael Marquez in the third fight via split decision.
Great fight,
Uh,
yeah.
that's one I have to check out again, as mentioned.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
then moving ahead, David Hay defeated Enzo Macarinelli, but I didn't watch that. Um, and March 8th, Nate Kimball, the Galaxy Warrior, upsets Juan Diaz. I remember watching that when that took place. Um, Nate Diaz wanted respect on his name. You know, he was an older fighter in there, but this is probably his last big fight of his career,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. I remember him fighting Ali Fanica a couple of times, or maybe
yeah.
once. I
Campbell,
remember maybe.
he was definitely talented, but I guess he had that attitude that sometimes got him in trouble.
Yeah,
He was sometimes too cocky or whatever. I know he
they got
was.
him cold clocked against Robbie Peden.
Yeah, when he just stood there and just got knocked out, so that was really funny.
Nah. Then March 8th, Samuel Peter took on Muskayev and got a 6 round technical knockout to pick up the WBC heavyweight title and exchange hands once again.
Mhm. Yeah, this guy was simply old, too old by then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think I saw that fight outside of the highlights.
Yeah, me too. I saw that stoppage, so that's yeah.
All right. Then March 15th, 2008, Manny Pacquiao defeated Juan Manuel Marquez to become the Ring Magazine and WBC Super Featherweight Champion
Yeah,
via split decision.
pretty interesting fight. I think I had Marquez winning that fight. I don't-
Yeah, I had to go back because I can't remember if I scored that one. I know I scored the first two
It was close, of course, but
because this was the third, right?
yeah, the third fight was it?
This was the
Oh no,
third.
the
Yeah.
second maybe
Oh, is this the second from 2000? Because they first fought in what 2000, like
four.
3 or.
I think
So I knew it was a good deal of time
yeah,
between.
at the end of 2004, something like that.
Okay, so yeah, I guess this was because I knew it was a good deal of time between the first and second. So I guess yeah, this is when
Yes.
split decision because he got because yeah he knocked down Marquez in that fight.
Yeah.
Um, got a quick knockdown and that was the difference.
Mm.
All right. Then March 22nd, Joel Casamayor defeated Michael Catsidis. I always liked Catsidis. He's an entertaining fighter, even with his walkout wearing his little Roman helmet or whatever. Casamayor is a good boxer. Cuban, I believe, right? Cuban boxer. Um,
Yeah,
this was a lightweight, Ring Magazine lightweight championship.
really good fight, but in the end, the same thing happened like as in the Hatton Mayweather fight. Catsidis just got a little too reckless and he was caught with a perfect punch, and that's what happened. That was the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Then April 12th, Chad Dawson defeated Glenn the Road Warrior Johnson. And at this particular time, of course, Chad Dawson being the younger fighter, technically on his game, he was really the guy at light heavyweight for this particular time, at least.
Yeah.
This
Chad
was
was also a lot
to
taller than Johnson. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I've seen that fight a couple of times. Very good fight, but I don't know why Johnson complained so much of robbery because I thought Dawson
yeah.
won by like 116, 112 or something. It was
Yeah, I agree. I remember watching it. I haven't seen it since watching it live when it first took place, but yeah, I thought it was a clear victory for Dawson as well.
yeah,
And Glenn Johnson, game, of course, he's always game, Glenn Johnson, but yeah, he just didn't do enough to get the nod in this one. Um, then moving on, Antonio Tarver defeated Clinton Woods, picked up the IBF light heavyweight title. Oh, Clinton Woods, remember him? That's pretty funny.
I remember.
The fact that he had a title at that particular time, actually.
I saw it once long ago, but I remember it wasn't of that pretty fight. I mean, it wasn't that exciting. It's just that Tarver was using his superior, technical ability to win a jab and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, Clinton was one of those. He was a durable guy. It seemed like, and
Yeah,
they could technically good, technically pretty decent. I remember having a solid jab for sure.
yeah,
Um, and then from there, April 12th, I guess that same night. Well, a few fights that same night. Margarito knocked out Kermit the Frog Cintron in the sixth round to gain the IBF welterweight title. I think Cintron was undefeated at the time. Um,
yeah. They say that's when so many things. That's when Margarita started using those loaded gloves.
oh yeah, I remember Cintron saying
Yeah,
he felt he had never been hit by anyone like that before or
yeah,
something of that
that's
nature.
true.
Who knows?
Who
I guess they would.
I know it was a really brutal body punch or something that won that fight for Margarita.
Mm,
But
yeah,
mm,
who knows? Yeah, interesting stuff. Then Cotto defeated another contender guy, I believe, or was Alfonso Gomez contender or seemingly contender light guy
yeah,
to win the to retain the WBA welterweight title. One of those guys that's pretty much a contender, even if he wasn't on the show. So we'll give him that moniker anyway.
yeah,
uh, and then April 19th, the big fight, Joe Calzaghe defeating Bernard Hopkins, Las Vegas Ring Light Heavyweight Championship, split decision. I got to say that when I watched the fight at that particular time, I felt that Bernard Hopkins won. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. What were your thoughts?
oh, I've seen it and scored it once, of course. I thought Calzaghe won. Uh, I don't remember. I had it like quite comfortable. I mean, it's not. I mean, of course, not too comfortable margin, but anyway,
Yeah,
I thought that Joe definitely won that fight, and of course, maybe the first rounds were more.
got down.
Hopkins was maybe better in the first 3 or 4 rounds, but then Calzaghe started really adjusting to his game and you know
Yeah,
simply
yeah,
did his stuff. And
yeah, yeah. And I would have to watch it again to rescore it, give it its proper due because that was at that particular time.
yeah, but
I haven't seen it.
yeah, I remember there were a few, of course, quite a few guys that were saying, "Oh, Bernard should have won," but mostly Americans. Yeah, of course.
That's funny. Hey, yeah, it's funny stuff. But then there on June 28th, Manny Pacquiao destroyed David Diaz via ninth round stoppage to take the WBC lightweight crown. This was really his
Yeah.
this is his first stop at 140, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or
Well,
no, this was
135.
135. 135. So 135, he didn't spend a ton of time at
Yeah, he
135, right?
was. I think maybe that was his only fight, or maybe he had one more
Yeah,
or something. Yeah, but
yeah, I remember this fight.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
not
then
simply
yeah,
he was overmatched in that fight. And yeah.
yeah. And this was Mane peaking in popularity. I remember there was just so much fanfare around Manny at this particular time, and it continued on, of course.
Mm,
But yeah, he was exciting. He was can't miss at this particular point.
yeah, that's right.
Then July 26th, the infamous Antonio Margarito versus Miguel Cotto WBA welterweight title fight, where Antonio Margarito was able to stop Miguel Cotto in the 11th round, picking up the title and handing Cotto a beating and his first ever loss.
Yeah, that was pretty dramatic, of course. But it was very like bloody,
Yeah,
had been. But of course, since that controversy, we know that might have, that Margarito very likely used that, plaster of Paris in that fight as well. So,
yeah. Because Cotto was, I'd say Cotto was outboxing him definitely like the first 5, 6 rounds. Maybe I had to give to Cotto. He was outboxing. He was landing some big shots. So
mm,
Margarito always had a strong chin because Cotto was landing some big shots, but
yeah, definitely.
Margarito was really taking those shots pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. And then just suddenly it changed, and yeah,
Yeah,
because Colo just couldn't take so well that those shots that.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's just one of those things too. Because Margarito kept pressing and he was cutting Cotto off. So Cotto wasn't able to get more of those breaks that he was able early on. So I know that played into it. But yeah, who knows? In light of the infamous Mosley fight, what was in his gloves, and then I guess that picture after I was going in this back and forth on Facebook, like because I was saying I don't know, but someone showed that picture with that little split right there, and asked if I could explain it, and like, hey, I couldn't explain it.
Yeah, he was definitely using something illegal. I mean, that's no
Yeah,
doubt.
it's crazy, crazy. Um, then September 13th, Juan Manuel Marquez defeated Joel Casamayor. I don't think I saw that fight. It's one I
Yeah,
need to
I've seen it, but
watch.
also quite a long time ago. Yeah, I know that he stopped him in the 11th round, which was the first time the Casamayor was stopped. So,
Oh yeah. So then, yeah, jumping ahead, October 18th, Bernard Hopkins defeated Kelly Pavlik via
oh
unanimous
yeah,
decision in what was really a dominant fight for Hopkins over Kelly, who many thought was going to get the victory leading up to the
Yeah,
fight,
me too.
but
I
it was never in
was
it.
convinced that Kelly would win that fight, but of course, I wasn't really thinking about all the advantages that Bernard had. So,
Yeah, Kelly never was in the fight, and kind of altered his career. That was really the career altering fight for him. Besides the one with Sergio, but by the time that fight with Sergio came around, I don't think too many people were favoring Pavlik,
yeah, that's right.
which says a lot considering it wasn't like he
yeah,
outside the Hopkins fight he had looked good, in all of his other fights for the most part.
yeah. I mean, he has had some layoffs, I guess, and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, interesting stuff. Then November 8th that same year, this is the coming out year even more for Joe Calzaghe and Americans. He defeated Roy Jones Jr. in NY via unanimous decision. I remember Roy Jones dropping him in the first round, but Calzaghe went on and continued to control the fight. As listed here, I don't remember all the details of the fight outside of that first round stoppage. I don't think I scored it or anything, but given what I know and what I did recall seeing, I know that there was one that Calzaghe deserved a nod in over Roy.
yeah, definitely. But I think he won like 11 out of those 12 rounds. So the only one
Yeah,
he lost was, of course, when he was dropped. So yeah, it was
and
simply,
that was Roy going rewinding back several years and
yeah.
somehow mustering up a quick knockdown.
He just got a boxing lesson. And yeah. So,
Yeah. Then November 22nd, Ricky Hatton stopped Paulie Malignaggi for the light welterweight title, or retaining it at least.
pretty good
Malignaggi,
victory, yeah, for him.
yeah, it was a good victory. Sort of bounced back. Malignaggi is not the type that you need to hurt a guy like Ricky Hatton, and Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah.
Malignaggi wasn't able to do so
Mm.
hardly with anyone he faced, but
Yeah.
hey, Ricky hadn't got that dub. Basically, I remember him stopping it. And probably had a weird looking haircut, right?
Yeah. As always, he has had
Yeah.
many different weird haircuts.
Then December 6th of 2008, the great Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao defeated Oscar De La Hoya, who was returning after having fought or having not fought in a while, but returning back to welterweight for the first time since somewhere in the early 2000s or midway through there at some point. And he was basically just dominated from start to finish and couldn't pull the trigger.
Really terrible decision to fight at 147 after he
Yeah.
hadn't fought like for 6 years or something at that weight. So, or
Yeah.
even longer, maybe 7. So,
Yeah, and it turned out to be a mismatch for Manny Pacquiao.
yeah. So no, he should have stayed retired simply. So
All right. And then December 6th, Carl Froch defeated John Pascal, heading in his first loss of decision win,
yeah,
super middleweight championship, WBC, that is.
that's the guy.
Pascal.
Yeah, I mean, I have to begrudgingly give Froch his credit, even though I don't like the guy, but
Oh, yeah.
he did win that fight. He looked good, and of course, Pascal, he had also his moments. He was pretty aggressive and fast, but I guess it was the
And
height and reach of Froch, that made him, win that fight, and also having the right strategy, having the right game.
yeah, and that win has looked better over time. Being there to be the first one to get that victory over him. And who would have thought that here in 2021, Pascal would hold the lightweight title.
Yeah, even though he didn't really deserve it, but anyway,
Yeah,
that's another.
yeah, yeah. So, then the last big fight of 2008 of note was Vladimir Klitschko knocking out Hasim
Oh
Rahman
yeah,
via seventh round TKO. It wasn't going to be a case where Lucky Punch was going to get in on Vladimir. He was going to ensure that wasn't going to happen.
it
And
was sad, simply sad. I mean, Rahman nowhere near his
yeah,
self. So
yeah, and so yeah, that's the 2008 year, and we'll go to the final year of this decade series. If you're still here with us, 2009. Dun, 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 and to kick things off,
hold
a
on.
very controversial fight to start at least, or before the fight kicked off, January 24th, 2009. Sugar Shane Mosley took on Antonio Margarito to pick up the WBA title or welterweight title via ninth round TKO. We know that prior to that fight, it was revealed that there was some type of substance or plaster like
Mm,
substance that is found within the hand wraps of Antonio Margarito that were taken away by the athletic commission.
yeah, yeah, that was the story. Yeah, and once again, I believe it was Nazim Richardson.
Oh yeah, Nazim Richardson. You're right.
He was the hero.
R.I.P. Nazim.
Yeah, it was like with the Hopkins Trinidad fight, but it was much
Yeah,
worse this time, of course. So,
yeah. And we know that all of a sudden Antonio Margarito's steady chin became a little bit more vulnerable after that revelation,
mm,
and he ended up hopping in the ring and getting thoroughly outboxed and beat up
beat up. Yeah,
and stopped. And then, yeah, so much ensued after that, and Margarito's entire legacy is now has a asterisk or question mark beside it
yeah,
from that point.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
And then February 5th, Joe Calzaghe retired. So 2008 was a big year for him. He retired, and interestingly enough, stayed retired. So you got to give him props for that.
Yeah, very wise, very wise.
Indeed. Then February 21st, oh yeah, I remember this. Kelly Pavlik beat Marco Antonio Rubio ninth round stoppage. I remember that. Defending his middleweight titles. Well, for the first time. Well, I guess this was his second defense because I don't know if the title was on the line against. I don't think it was on the line against Hopkins. So.
No, it wasn't. I think his first defense was against that guy from UK. Lock-
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, Lockett. Yeah, Gary Lockett or something like
He was
that. Yeah.
Welsh. Yeah, that's right. He's Welsh.
He's a trainer now. I forget who he trains, but I remember seeing him training
Yeah.
some fighters over there. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, that was a W for Kelly Pavlik. Then February 28th, Juan Manuel Marquez defeated Juan Baby Bull Diaz via ninth round TKO,
Oh,
picking up the WBA and WO lightweight titles in what was a exciting fight.
yeah, fantastic fight. I think, yeah, it was of course better at first half, maybe first 6 rounds were very aggressive. Yeah, but
Oh yeah,
it was a little too aggressive, and then Marquez just kind of started um, dissecting him. You know,
yes, to say the
out.
least.
That was a really amazing knockout. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a textbook uppercut that took him out and forced that stoppage.
Of course, the first, I believe, was still the only time when Diaz was knocked out. So, yeah,
Oh yeah, well, yeah, yeah. I believe that is the
great,
case.
great achievement. Yeah.
Indeed. Then moving ahead, Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, he beat Francisco Rosas to
Yeah.
get the WA minimum weight title for a second time. I didn't watch it. I wasn't really watching Chocolatito at that particular
No,
time, though. I'm hearing that he was very good in
yeah,
that
same here. I didn't care
Impact
much
team.
about those weights. No.
It was hard to find him too, you know.
Yeah, that's right. It's hard to find, especially this minimum weight and light flyweight and all
Yeah,
that stuff. You know.
definitely. March 14th, Amir Khan beat Marco Antonio Barrera in his, I guess, comeback fight. I don't know if that was the comeback fight or at least one of them, since he had announced his retirement after that loss to Pacquiao.
Yeah,
But it ended up being stopped via cut.
yeah. I remember there was some controversy because they say that should have been stopped before, like third round or something.
Yeah,
But they
yeah,
they kind of del- deliberately waited so they would get a TKO victory because it was after the fourth round. You know, it was only after
uh,
then that you could get it. You know, like I don't know.
yeah. I need to watch it again. I remember watching it, and I remember the cut was a bad cut.
Yeah,
I
because
felt at least.
I think if they had stopped it before, it would have been like a technical draw. Or I don't think so.
Yeah, before the fourth round, as you mentioned,
Yeah,
or yeah,
technical decision.
fourth and above.
So it was about getting another win on Amir Khan's record, simply.
Yeah, I thought Amir Khan was looking good, faster fighter for sure
Yeah,
in that fight. He was able to
he was really like, yeah, becoming bigger back then. I remember he was, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that one. Then March 21st. Oh yeah, Roy Jones knocked out Omar Shika. I don't think I watched that.
Oh, yeah, oh, me
Um,
neither.
but then April 25th, Carl Froch defeated Jermaine Taylor via 12th round TKO in his first defense of his WBC super middleweight title. He rails up from the canvas in the third round,
Yeah,
and he ended up over the second half of the fight just continued to press Taylor, though he was losing the boxing battle. And I think that Taylor was up on some cards, if not all of the cards, but it eventually gassed as usual
mm,
and ended up being stopped with not that long left. I remember under a minute, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, pretty devastating loss for him, I imagine, yeah. That was
Yeah,
very, yeah,
to have come so far, I believe there were probably whispers in his head like, "Oh, can I survive? Please, please let me survive
yeah.
this." But he couldn't do anything.
Very, very dramatic fight, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, but Carl Froch, hey, he stuck in there, even though he seemingly was out of it. He kept pressing, and
That's
hey, you got to say he's relentless.
tough guy. Tough
Yeah,
cookie.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, then May 2nd, huge fight: Manny Pacquiao versus Ricky Hatton,
Oh,
Las Vegas. We all know that it was a second round stoppage. Yeah, right there at the end of the second round, and it
devastating,
was
yeah.
a shot heard around the world, basically.
That was the end of Ricky, the Hitman's career, definitely. So,
Yes, it was, and I just remember in that fight, he was trying to play a boxer in a style that he really. It was just kind of too late for him to try and take on. He was working with Floyd Senior at the time,
yeah,
but when he got caught, he was really, I guess, because he heard the 10-second thing. It was a really lackluster type of defense he put forth before that shot came, probably thinking that
yeah,
it wasn't going to be a hard shot,
yeah. He was like,
and
why,
because his hands were down, he was kind of just like,
why? Just,
and it was lights out.
yeah, it was very unfortunate for him. Unfortunate.
Yeah, you're right. That was the end of the Hitman
he
Hatton.
was
I've been seeing his.
he was only 30 years old, right? So he
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's crazy, right?
still had something. I mean, he still had some career left. Hadn't he been, of course, knocked out, he would. have gone on to fight several years, of course. So yeah,
Yeah, it ended up being the knockout of the year right there for 2009.
and he and Ricky ended up being the pub champion, pie.
Oh yeah, oh Ricky.
Yeah,
That is correct. You know, I've seen that he has his or his son is going to be making a debut at
yeah,
some point soon.
right. Yeah,
I'm interested in seeing how he does. I haven't seen anything of him in terms of his
yeah.
amateur stuff or
That's
whatever.
gonna
But
be
should be
yeah. That's right.
all right. Then May 9th, Chad Dawson defeated Antonio Tarver by decision. He defended the IBO and IBF light heavyweight titles. I do recall that fight. And it was another case that when Dawson was the champion at that particular time, it was really him and then some guys who were getting to that point where they were going to be on their way out, like at least the
Older,
big
yeah,
names being
yeah,
Tarver, Hopkins, Johnson. I know he was clamoring for that Hopkins fight, and interestingly enough, Hopkins went on to fight for
mm,
more years after that, even though he was seemingly at the tail end of his career then.
yeah,
But yeah, really just one of those decisions. Yeah, youth and skill helped see Dawson through against Tarver.
yeah. I've seen that fight, but that was also a long time ago. I think he scored a knockdown in one of the last rounds. Dawson also.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It's been a while since I saw it as well.
Yeah, yeah. Tarver was very cocky for a fight, I remember. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, he was simply outboxed. Yeah,
Yeah. And then Vladimir Klitschko on June 20th, 2009 defeated Ruslan Chigayev. This was part of the roundup to take all of the belts.
that's maybe the only fight of his I haven't seen like in the last 12 years. Let's say,
Yeah, I've seen highlights of it. I haven't seen the full fight myself, that one in particular.
or actually
Uh,
between 2008 and 2017. So it's
yeah, there were several I didn't see.
yeah.
But I saw his last towards the tail end, probably like his last but yeah, definitely like five
Yeah, it was like
fights, maybe five,
this
six.
fight. I believe it was a corner retirement, right after 9 rounds.
Yeah, in the ninth.
Yeah, so I read about it, but yeah, I didn't see it.
Crowd was 61,000. It was in Germany. Biggest audience since Smelling knocked out this guy Hauser or Huser
Yeah,
in
surely.
front of 70,000 in 1939.
Mm.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean Vladimir was always very unpopular in Germany. I mean both the
Yeah,
Klitschko's were.
yeah, yeah,
It's
definitely.
there. They started, of course, there as pros.
Hmm. That's good stuff. Then August 15th, I guess it's worth noting, Roy Jones beat Jeff Lacy in probably what was his
Last,
last decent looking performance.
yeah, it was. I remember
Yeah,
people talking about it. I haven't seen, but I remember they were pretty impressed. I mean, it was a boxing scene that I read about it.
oh, okay. Yeah, and of course Lacey at this point, yeah, he just hadn't been the same since that Calzaghe fight.
Yeah,
Um,
he's,
and I know that Jermaine Taylor had stopped him
he
too.
was just a
Or
puncher,
he,
so he was just a puncher. I think he didn't have much else than that.
yeah,
Once he
yeah.
got
Then
to score a knockout, he would lose. So,
yeah, that's what he was counting on because I know he's a a sort of more muscular
yeah,
guy. So power, him trying to land a big punch, and that's what he was doing in that Calzaghe fight. It's just like he was
powerhouse.
only solely trying to land a power punch.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, of course.
Then September 12th, Ivan Calderon defeated Rodel Mayol. I didn't see that. I guess you didn't either.
That's
Yeah, I didn't really watch any of Ivan Calderon's fights outside of watching on YouTube.
mm,
Um, then September 19th, Floyd Mayweather Jr. made his comeback to defeat Juan Manuel Marquez. And, the question was why Marquez, who was coming up from 135 to 140,
I
well, it was initially
yeah, I really
144.
yeah, it was.
It was like 144 or something like that, but then it ended up just being full fledged 147.
Yeah, I mean back then Marquez was definitely not a welterweight, so
No, he
like
wasn't.
made no sense.
But yeah, it didn't. And but it was a dominant performance by Mayweather,
Yeah,
having been out for 21 months. Um, but yeah, definitely that size played a role in that fight. Then stylistically, I guess it would have been a tough fight. But yeah, just size along with that didn't help Marquez at all.
mm,
And he looked like the smaller fighter in there.
yeah, definitely.
And it was one of those fights where he had to be the aggressor, which really wasn't much of his style overall.
mm, yeah,
All right. Then September 19th, Chris John defeated Rocky Juarez by decision. It was on the undercard of the Mayweather Marquez thing.
yeah.
Is that the last I heard of Chris John? I don't remember hearing too much from him uh,
I believe
outside of when he had a title.
I believe he lost. Was it 2012 or something? I don't know. Then he lost
Okay,
to
2002.
Thailand. Maybe he had one more fight. Also, he lost that one, and then he retired. Yeah.
Yeah, so this would have been 2000. So this was 2009. So yeah, it'd be Rocky Juarez. Um,
Hmm.
Then September 26th, Vitaly Klitschko thoroughly defeated and stopped Chris Arreola, who was in
Yeah.
there swinging by his damnedest, but was totally outmatched
That was.
in his bid to be the first Mexican
Yeah.
heavyweight champion of the world, or at least Mexican American.
He just proved to be. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I mean, that was
It
painful to watch. I thought.
looked like a club fighter in there.
Yeah.
Uh, he probably shouldn't be fighting that heavyweight
Yeah.
anyway.
That's right.
Given
And
his
it was
size.
just a very empty hope, like a Mexican heavyweight champion. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, just Vitaly, just doing what he does. He
yeah,
kept that stick out there, and then just took him out, and
mm,
all Ariella could do is cry.
yeah,
Um, That's basically what it was. So then, October 10th, Juan Manuel Lopez defeated Rogers Mtagwa by decision to defend his WBO superweight title, and I know that was probably mentioned because it was a big fight, but also that is someone that Yuriorkis Gamboa went on to stop, and that was one of the fights over this period that we were robbed of by virtue of Bob ever wanting it to marinate.
I
You know
remember
what I'm saying?
there was some critique of Juan because he had struggled too much with against Mtagua, so yeah, that was why it
Oh
lost.
yeah. Yeah. And then October 10th, Juan Carlos Salgado, I didn't see this fight, knocked out Jorge Linares in the first round.
Oh yeah,
I
I
guess it
have
was considered
seen
the
that.
upset of the year.
Yeah, Salgado. Yeah. Mm, that was a big
Yeah,
shocker. Yeah, that definitely.
yeah, Jorge, I had to check that out myself. It's not that long of a fight. Um, October 17th, Arthur Abraham, excuse me, this was a part of the Super 6 tournament.
Mm.
See that poster behind me?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
Super 6.
right. I
Super
see.
6, baby. He knocked out Jermaine Taylor and caused a brain bleed from what they were saying back then.
Yeah,
So you would have thought that Jermaine Taylor would be done. Of course, he ended up being not fighting in that tournament again, and I guess that was the last on a major stage that we saw Jermaine Taylor Well, he did beat Sam Solomon, but
Yeah,
he just had a lot of issues after that.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Outside of the ring, I would say more than any.
Yeah, I
So
remember that fight. I mean, I saw it when it happened live. So
yeah,
I
yeah, same
I
here.
knew that guy Arthur Abraham would win. I just simply knew
Yeah,
that by then Taylor was not what he used to be, and
yeah,
Abraham was
and
undefeated, hard puncher, all that stuff.
and Abraham, he's a patient fighter, and you could just tell as the fight went on, it was just a matter of time because Jermaine, he seemingly was doing just like in some of his previous big fights, post being the middleweight champion, he seems to just be doing as much as he could to
Mm,
try and stay the distance.
yeah,
Um, and that was really not what took him to the top. I would say it was really his athleticism and power that kind of got him there. So yeah, it just was a bad formula.
that's right. Yeah,
Then the next day, October 18th, 2009, Carl Flatch beat Andre Durrell, Olympic bronze medalist, by split decision in the Super 6 tournament. I remember this was a very entertaining fight for a multitude of reasons. Durrell was up and down on the canvas all night, and it was just like crazy.
I just I don't think I've seen it, but I read it. It was very like yeah, that was really
Durrell had his moments. He had his moments,
yeah,
but there was just so much going on with
it
the
was
fight. It was an
holding a
ugly
lot,
fight.
right? So whole
Yeah, yeah, it was a very ugly
very
fight.
ugly, and Froch was just hitting air, but he won. Still,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I would have to see it again. I just remember it being ugly, and I don't think too many people were bent out of shape about the decision.
very ugly fights, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then, oh, interesting. I guess I didn't even know about this one. October 24th, 2009, Thomas Adamek beat Andrew Galata for the IBF International Heavyweight
He
title.
did, but that was, Golada hadn't fought for a while, and he was very
Yeah,
bad shape, very, very heavy.
yeah, I didn't even know this took place. Well, I guess good for you, Thomas Adamek. This was his debut fight at heavyweight,
Simply
which,
because both were famous Polish boxers, so yeah.
so yeah, that's a very misleading win right there for
Yeah,
Adamek. At least at heavyweight.
yeah, definitely, yeah. Golota was just like a punching bag by then. He was
Yeah,
had
interesting
a lot
character he was,
of
Ogalata.
yeah.
Then November 7th, David Hay beat Nikolai Valuev
Oh,
via points in another one of those sort of, I don't know, ugly, boring fights where Valuev, the slow guy, trying to catch this smaller, faster guy.
yeah,
But I remember Hay was able to hurt
yeah.
him.
In the last round, yeah, that's right. The rest of the fight, he just simply
Yeah.
ran away, and
So if you want to know how that fight went, you can just watch a highlight of the last
yeah,
round,
but
and
yeah, he
then the
uh,
rest of it was just nothing. Pretty much.
although he was kind of his knees or legs were getting, that spaghetti legs. So
So I guess that win is what made Hay think that he could take out one of the Klitschko's.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, his ego was just too big for his good, I think.
Yeah. So then November 7th, I guess that same night, different locale, of course, Chad Dawson defeated once again Glenn the Road Warrior Johnson. It was it was just that run of when Dawson was fighting. Yeah, like we mentioned, some of the older guys or
Yeah,
guys that were up there, but hey, that just so happened to be where it was
Johnson
at that
again,
particular
he
period.
complained of being robbed. That was just had become a habit for him because he had been robbed before so many times, I guess. Or he
Yeah,
had come on the wrong end of some very close, fights. So yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, this is interesting for Dawson because all of the a lot of the top guys at that particular time who were younger were at like 168, you know,
Yeah.
and 160,
Yeah,
so
so
he
yeah,
had to work with what he was
175
doing.
was quite weak back then. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't really outside of Hopkins, Tarver, and I guess
Yeah,
Glenn Johnson and Clinton Woods, maybe. Yeah, that was really it. Then
Pascal.
what's his name came on? Yeah, Cloud. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah, Claude and
Yeah,
Pascal.
Tavares. Cloud. Yeah, and then Pascal eventually. Yeah, he moved up. So yeah, definitely. A lot. Yeah, the balance sort of shifted a bit
Yeah.
later on. So then November 14th, so a week later, you got Manny Pacquiao on top of his game at his peak,
Yeah.
some would say, defeating Miguel Cotto by TKO in the, what round was this? Um,
12th
12th round, okay. He picked up the WBO title,
in the beginning of
um,
the 12, I believe.
the WBC Diamond Belt,
That was
one of the
probably
winning.
his most impressive performance, because Cotto was
Yeah.
simply one of the best fighters still. So,
Yeah, and I remember that was an exciting fight, and we were getting this on. It wasn't pay per view; it was like premium cable. It was HBO, I believe,
yeah,
might have been. And yeah, and it was an excellent matchup. Just thinking about all the different outcomes that could potentially be there, and Manny Pacquiao was just man. This he was just becoming a global superstar at this particular point.
yeah, he was dynamite, simply.
And we were sure here in 2009 that by the time 2010 rolled around, Mayweather Pacquiao was going to happen. No, no way it wasn't going to happen by 2010 or 11. 11. We'll just say 2011. No way it's not going to happen beyond 2011. I'll tell you that right now. I'm predicting
I
that.
believe the first date was set for March 2010 already, so that was something.
So
Yeah,
that goes to show you right there, man. Craziness with boxing. Only in
5 years.
boxing.
It would take five another years.
Insane, in freaking insane, and it looks like we're headed down that path with Crawford Spence.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not, as it will not take another 5 years.
Yeah,
It may take a couple.
yeah, yeah, definitely. We'll see. Um, November 14th, Yuri Foreman defeated Daniel Santos. I don't know Santos. He picked up the WBA super welterweight title. I guess that's of significance because Yuri ultimately ended up taking on Cotto.
Yeah.
Yuri is the first Hasidic Jew to
Oh yeah.
win a world title.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, he was a decent boxer. Not much power,
Yeah.
not
So
much really over nothing glaringly like overly impressive. He's just a decent boxer.
yeah, I guess he was a tough guy, but simply.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely tough guy, definitely. Um, then November 21st, uh, Andre Ward took Mikhail Kessler, and this was really one of those fights. Just like, okay, yeah, Andre Ward, he's either going to show us he's the guy, or Miguel Kessler is going to prove that he's still at the top, very top of his game, which he was still at the top of his game.
Yeah.
But Andre Ward was able to get a unanimous. Well, I can't remember. I think it was a UD victory. Became the WBA super middleweight champion.
Actually, the fight was stopped in the 11th round because Kessler got cut. Something. Yeah.
Oh, it
That's
was.
right. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
No, so for some reason I was thinking it was a decision.
he did. He
Good to know.
he wanted to continue, but the doctor stopped the fight. So yeah.
Mm. Okay, yeah, I remember Ward nullifying his offense for a good majority of the fight.
Yeah.
which Ward was very good at. He had some of that sort of Bernard Hopkins style to him,
Mm,
that craftiness where he just knew when to kind of get in there and tie you up, nullify your offense, could get in his shots on the inside as well,
yeah.
just before things are broken up. So
I remember before the start of that Super Six, a guy that I know that was like the mod at this forum. He was really high on Andre Ward, and I didn't know Andre Ward. So, but he turned out to be right. Of course, he really knew his stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I knew that he was the last at that particular time. And maybe still the case outside of Clarissa Shields being a female Olympic gold medalist, but he was the last male Olympian from the U.S. to win a gold medal.
All right.
So I know he had high regards. And I remember rooting for him. I was like, hey, yeah, I just want to see. I knew it would be tough, but I was following him back then. I remember early on, it was the days when he was on Twitter and you could get a reply back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I remember that phase. But yeah, he ended up. This was sort of like his coming out in a sense, or his arrival on the world stage as, hey, this is a legitimate guy here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Of course.
Then November 28th, the guy who was at the time one of the other guy considered to be the top 168 pounder who just so happened to not be in the World Super Six, Lucian Boutte, defeated Liberador Andrade at he would be a knockout in the fourth round
Yeah.
in a
One
rematch of their fight.
punch. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he really caught him.
Yeah. It was
But
amazing because nobody thought that he could stop, Andrade. So,
yeah, and he had proven to have a tough chin. Andrade is one of those guys that could take and eat all types of
but they
shots.
forgot that
But
you also can hit into the body, not just the chin.
yeah, yeah. That is true. But I remember in their first fight, though, I feel like that was Butte should have lost that fight, and that referee screwed Andrade over, and it was blatant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
last
I guess
round.
you say corruption. You want to call it corruption or what? It was blatant. It was bull. But it was similar to Meldrick Taylor being out, maybe even worse. But
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, that's true.
oh yeah, we did mention
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that was that screwed up. It sucks because Liberador Andrade is a guy who thankfully he got another chance, but one of those hard, rugged guys. You don't get too many chances
yeah,
uh, at that top level, and he deserves that title.
yeah. Why not?
Yeah, that would have shook up things in a major way for
Yeah.
sure. And then, of course, time went on to show that Boutte, and maybe at this particular time, Boutte, he was on top of his game, but
Mm,
he was not the best 168 pounder in the world.
no,
Would have
that's
been interesting to see him
right.
in that tournament. Just seeing what I've seen, with him facing the likes of Frach and
He fought
uh,
too much at home or in Montreal. So
yeah, yeah. I don't know that he would have beat. I don't know that he would have beat Mikhail Kessler. I don't think he would have beat Ward.
yeah, most likely
You
not.
know, definitely not Frach. Abraham would have been just thinking about those in the tournament. That would have been an interesting one, depending on if Abraham
Yeah,
punch output was where it needed to be. But I think that Abraham probably could touch him up as well.
yeah, I think so too. I don't know. It's hard to say now, but yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Then December 2nd, getting to the last three.
Ooh,
Well, the second one isn't worth even mentioning, but the last two, we'll say, Danny. Well, I guess none of these really. But Danny Green knocked out Roy Jones, uh, and Roy shouldn't have been fighting at that time, as we said over and over. Uh, and interestingly enough, he was still going to fight for more years. But Bernard Hopkins, 45-year-olds, beat Enrique
Ornelas,
Ornelius. I didn't watch that fight.
you know who he is actually. Ornelas is the brother of Andrade,
The brother of
of
who?
Librado Andrade, because
Oh,
they
yeah.
are both.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
they are using. They have two last names, Ornelas Andrade. So
Yeah.
one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Enrique Andrade
Yeah,
Ornelas. Okay, I see. Huh, that is funny.
yeah,
Um, then lastly, Amir Khan defeated Dimitri
yeah.
Solita.
That was pretty embarrassing. So
76-second TKO. Hey, he has a promotional company, right?
yeah, yeah, that's right. He has. He's
I see
also
a lot of people fighting under his
he's a
promotion.
Jew from Ukraine, I believe, or something. Salita. So I remember before
Okay.
a fight, he was talking about it was nice that they were fighting a Muslim and a Jew. They could
Oh,
be
okay. Yeah,
friends
that's
and
good
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah,
So that was his. So he only had those two losses, but Amir Khan and then some other guy I never heard of. So yeah, he just had a built-up record
yeah.
fighting a bunch of hapless guys. But cool, we got a promotional company, so that's good stuff.
All right,
But hey, we did
we
it.
did
Decade, 2 hours and 45 minutes. I don't know if people will be able to sit and watch the entire video or what, but hey, we're
almost
gonna put it out
almost like
there.
Godfather one or whatever.
Thank you for joining in, Slaven.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Really, I really love doing this. Yeah, thank you
Likewise.
for having me.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah, all right, you too. No, uh, yeah, there are many fights, really many to talk. All right, email.